just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, brought to you by our new shirts. Pre-sale, dropping this Wednesday, 6 p.m. That's right, pre-sale. So we've got the Cool Dad. If you're a cool dad out there, grab a Cool Dad shirt. Then we've got the Best Dad shirt. If you've got a dad that's the best dad in all the world, grab this shirt. And then we've got the Grumpy Dad shirt. If you've got a Grumpy Dad shirt, a Grumpy Dad, grab him a Grumpy Dad shirt. That is this Wednesday, 6 p.m. They go live. It's a pre-sale, and also it comes in a bloke bundle. And guess what you get? So if you pay $120, you get your choice of one of these shirts. Then you also get a bloke cooler bag. You get a bloke stubby holder, but on the stubby holder it says dad, so obviously for your dad or if you are a dad. And then you also get your choice of a 6-pack of beer, so the bloke lager or the bloke midi. And then you get a bloke card. So this is all based around Father's Day. Now, if you're just a dad and you just want to get it normally, just get it normally. Who cares? But these will all be shipped out by August the 22nd. So August the 22nd, the pre-sale starts Wednesday, 6 p.m. Then they'll all be shipped out by August the 22nd. You can also buy the shirts individually. They're $49.95, the usual price. But yeah, so $120 gets you a shirt of your choice, gets you a 6-pack of beer, gets you a bloke cooler bag that we haven't released yet, and you can only buy them in the packs. And it also gets you a bloke stubby cooler with dad on it. So make sure to be there Wednesday, 6 p.m, guys. Wednesday, 6 p.m. If you're a dad, get your missus or your kids to have a look at bloke.shop at Wednesday, 6 p.m. to get you a shirt. We've got a Cool Dad, Best Dad, or Grumpy Dad shirts. Plus, we've got a bunch of other stuff on bloke.shop. If you want to go there now, check it out. We've still got a couple of these hoodies. We've got old school shirts with the big bloke on top. So go to bloke.shop to grab some bloke merch. But that's just a reminder, Wednesday, 6 p.m, pre-sale start. They'll be shipped out by the 22nd of August to make sure that you get them for Father's Day. But if you want to get them for yourself, even if it's not for you for Father's Day, Cool Dad, Best Dad, and Grumpy Dad. But I've got the great Guru here. How you going, brother?
Going good, mate. Father's Day, idiot-proof now. Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong. You know, and I feel like blokes, very hard to find what's good for your dad. You know what I mean? Like, what do I actually get dad?
I think buying presents is the worst part
yes.
of life in general for anyone.
And we've taken care of that for you. Yeah. Blokes, we've taken care of that for you. Just go to bloke.shop, you go a bloke bundle, $120, your dad will be stoked. I'm telling you, dad will be stoked. I'm going to get my dad, all three of them. The great Timmy, how was your weekend, mate?
Very good, mate. I actually snuck away to Byron Bay for a little late season getaway. I know we're getting towards finals time, so I really wanted to freshen up and peak come finals like every good footy side should be doing.
Few holidays this year, mate.
Yeah, look, mate, they're working holidays, so you know it's not all luxury and cocktails and beers, but mate, I'm very fresh coming into this one, so ready to go.
Mate, exciting times. Luckily, you came in on a quiet week, so we'll just talk about the footy. Nothing else happened. Does Week got a dog? Ring a bell? Does that ring a bell to anyone? Oh. We got to talk about it. All jokes aside, so obviously Ricky Stewart in the post-match press conference after losing to the Penrith Panthers has called one of the opposing players a weak-gutted dog, and he's been like that since he was a kid. That's just obviously everyone knows the quote, but that's just a paraphrasing of it. Guru, I'll get your thoughts first, mate.
Can you tell the Raiders had a bad loss or what?
Wow.
And once again, I mean, when no one's talking about the Raiders against the Penrith Panthers losing by 20 or 30.
And playing really poorly.
Playing terribly against Penrith without the best player in the game. I think Ricky knew it.
Both halves.
Both halves, yeah. In Canberra, season on the line. Yeah, I kind of think Ricky knew what he was doing here.
Oh, really?
What do you guys, I mean, it's not the first time Ricky's done this.
I reckon he just got overly emotional. You reckon he was willing to go, like, the ramifications of this are going to be so hectic. There were a million other ways.
I don't reckon he thought it through properly, but I mean, it doesn't shock me at all that he's done something like this after a Raiders loss where they probably should be heavily criticised when their season was on the line. But regardless, I think it was a really shit play by Ricky. I think he's got to be better than that regardless of what he thinks of Salmon or him as a kid. It's just made it even more fucking bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm interested to see how the NRL handles this. Fine, suspension, whatever it might be. I think that they need to put the hammer down.
Timmy, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I'd love to say it's a classic Ricky Stewart deflection of the result and trying to take the heat off his players, but mate, it was a hot-headed moment where he lost his cool. And obviously the fact that Penrith won so convincingly, it just makes it look so much worse. Like, had he done it after a Raiders win, it honestly softened the blow. You'd be like, wow, like he's coming in a chipper mood and still finds time to say it. But after that loss, I love Ricky Stewart, and I'll defend him week in, week out. Whenever he does anything wrong or says something wrong, which is most weeks with Ricky Stewart, but he lost his cool in this one, and he's going to get in a lot of strife. They'll come down hard on him.
Yeah, look, honestly, anything else, like all of the other blow-ups I've seen Ricky had, I'm like, yeah, okay, it's probably crosses the line, but I kind of enjoy the fact that he's so emotive, he's so passionate about the losses or whatever. Like, totally, those ones are like, again, they're across the line, but I can deal with them. This one, for me personally, it's just way too far, totally inappropriate. And unfortunately, the NRL is probably going to have to come down pretty tough on him. Like, not unfortunately, because like when he come out and apologised for it, I was almost of the mind of like, look, he's apologised for it. Let's just move on. Like, let's move on. He's admitted. I'm usually mostly on the side of, if someone comes out and apologised, you move on. But then I sat back today and I was like, what if he said that about my brother or someone in my family? I'd be ropeable, because now there's like hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, but at least hundreds of thousands of people that genuinely think Salmon is a bad bloke. And whether he is or he isn't, like I don't know him, I've never met him, have had nothing to do with him. Whether he is or he isn't, those people didn't have the right to know that. Like, he's a person that's reputation now takes a hit when it's a personal matter between him and Ricky's families. Now, the Salmon family has come out and said they're surprised by the comment. He actually hasn't had anything to do with Salmon since he was 12 years old. And then Ricky did say in his apology, he did say, I thought that this is a very long time ago and I thought I'd moved it past this, but clearly I haven't. Yeah, just really poor. And some people might say, oh, let them say what they want. It's like, hang on a sec. We're talking about a coach here. We're talking about a coach in a professional environment. He's supposed to be a leader of men, one of the, 16 leaders in the NRL. Whether they players and coaches like it or not, there are role models. It's just the way it is. Like, you can sit there all day and say, I never wanted to be a role model, but it's just the way it is. And the thing that sucks, I guess, for Ricky from his perspective, he does so many good things away from rugby league, and I'm sure you know more about it, Timmy, but this one was just way too far. So what do you reckon the NRL's going to do? What do you reckon the NRL's going to do?
Yeah, I mean, respectfully too, Ricky, defines work. Like, it's been 10 years of him walking to press conferences, blowing his lid. I don't think that fines work, and I don't know if a fine's enough for this. Do we recall any coach doing anything like this?
I've never seen it in any sport ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
So, yeah, I personally think a suspension probably has to come in here. I don't know what a suspension looks like, whether it's games, press conferences, trainings. I don't know how it would work, but I don't think a fine does the job.
Yeah, what do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, I think it'll lead to a suspension of some sort. And it was such an interesting one because the idea of coming out, and if you just dislike someone that much, I know it's a professional environment. You've got to be cautious with it. And like, normally speaking, like, you know what, coaches, players, they tread on thin ice in interviews and they're boring. And I love these honest opinions coming out. But if you're going to have a crack at someone, you have to provide context, and you can't just keep people guessing and calling them out for something without providing context.
Yep.
But in this situation, the second he mentioned the word kid, it was just like, Ricky, mate, like that's just so far gone and so out of line. You know, it not only becomes a character assassination of Jamin Salmon, but it becomes a character assassination of a 12-year-old Jamin Salmon, which is just so far wrong. So, unfortunately, not unfortunately, he brought it on himself. He's a big boy. He'll be able to deal with it, and he's going to get in a lot of strife over it. So, I love a fiery, exciting press conference with a bit of honesty, but, he crossed the line probably more than once in the space of one quote.
It's a really interesting thing because, like, if it was player to player, the kid thing is just, you just can't do it. You just cannot do it. There's no explanation for it. But if it was player to player going, I think he's a weak dog, you'd be like, Matt, that's awesome. Like, player to player, let's do it. Like, we want more of that in the game. Like, we don't want more of that in the game but like, you know, from a purely selfish perspective as a fan of the game, I want players saying how they feel. I want players, you know, expressing themselves. The biggest origins we've ever had usually come off the back of something being said in the media, and then it just turns into an explosion. But I do believe that coaches should be held to a higher standard than players because they're supposed to be a leader of men and women. You just cannot go there. Like, what's interesting as well is like he could have got across the same point without saying, if he had said something along the lines of, you know, kick to the nuts, in my opinion, usually is really cowardly, and that's not the way I like to play the game. It's kind of the same point without the aggressive wording. That's where I feel like it's a clear indication that he was overly emotional in the situation, because he would have probably worded it a little bit better without, you know, saying. So, yeah, look, me personally, I think, unfortunately, really poor look for the game, really poor look for Ricky Stewart. And the sad thing is I think Ricky Stewart's done so well to turn the Raiders around, like so well this year, but it's going to be all overshadowed. Now, I know they played really poorly against the Panthers, and we'll get to that. But, I mean, we got to remember, start of the year was looking like a disaster. It was looking like fucking wooden spoon territory. So, yeah, I'm not sure what the punishment will be. I think a fine probably doesn't cut it. I think that they're going to have to do something. You just cannot have this. You just cannot have it.
Just on that note as well, I thought Ivan Cleary handled it very well. The moment that the journo said it to him, you saw Isaiah Yeo, his eyebrows went up like, oh, fuck, here we go. This could blow up here. I thought he handled it perfectly. Pretty much said, I don't need to respond to that, and said, we love having Jamin here. He's part of our squad, and we love having him here. So credit to Ivan, because it could have turned into a bit of a shit show there.
Well, I mean, I think we saw a much more mature Ivan, like only last year with the Wayne situation, and you know, they kind of got reeled into a bit of a back and forth. Now, I'm not so sure Ivan, like we saw how smart Ivan was in this press conference. Now that I look back on it, I'm not so sure Ivan didn't intentionally get into that back and forth with Wayne Bennett, because then it took pressure off his squad going into that grand final. Because you're totally right. Like watching the Ivan press conference, he handled that like a mastermind. Like just to go, boom. His emotions, you could see his eyes go like, so his emotions just went, and he just went.
Yeah, I think it was pretty evident that was I don't think anyone had tipped them off before
I don't think so.
walked in. I think they heard it live.
You could see in his face, he was like, what the fuck? Are you serious? But then he just went, like, he took like a second answer, and then his whole demeanour changed. He said, I don't have to answer that. Absolute class from Ivan Cleary. I mean, there's not many blokes that wouldn't have gone, what the fuck did he just say? And then just rattled off a bunch of, you know, expletives back. I do understand where the Salmon family is coming from, though, in the sense of like, you know, Ricky has apologised, but how do they get back the damage that has been done to their son's reputation? Like, how do they get that back? There's going to be a portion of the population that just side with Ricky, that are just like, yep, if he said it, there must be a real reason for it, and that's going to be. There is going to be a narrative. We love the word narrative. That is going to be created from certain people saying, mate, if he was willing to say that, he must have good reason. But in my opinion, guys, the reason is irrelevant. Whether it's true, it's not true, or whatever, you cannot be talking about a 12-year-old kid whether he did make mistakes or he didn't make mistakes. It is just not on. It has to be handled privately. There's honestly like, there's not much that it could excuse that being public, in my opinion. There really isn't.
Especially when it's off the back of an incident. I'm sorry, it was a blatant accident.
Oh, so obvious it was an accident, seriously.
Yeah, if he doesn't use the word kid, I could find ways to defend Ricky as a passionate Canberra Raiders fan. Yeah. But the second the word kid was dropped, it's like, how do you defend this?
You just can't. Like, it's a kid. It's a kid. Like, anyway. So, I do respect Ricky for coming out. His apology seemed quite sincere. He didn't seem to dodge much about it. He's quite open about it. But that doesn't excuse the fact that this is, like, people, I don't think, a lot of time I feel like some people don't actually sit down and think, okay, how would you feel if there's hundreds of thousands of people out there that now think you're a shit bloke? You would be devastated. And it's not just like, oh, it's a press conference, it's forgotten about. That is going to be replayed for the rest of time. Like, look at Tuvi's interview about there's got to be an investigation. Like that, Ricky's comments are already being memed. Like already straight away. Like within probably 30 minutes of it being done, it was already a meme on social media. And so that's what he's going to have to deal with now forever. So really unfortunate. Really, really unfortunate. I hope his mental health is all good. and I hope his family's getting around him, which they would be, and I know the Penrith Panthers would be, because, as I said, I don't think anyone really deserves that, to be honest. Just quickly on the women's game, there was a bit of not a controversy, but did you guys read about the suspension stuff? So basically, and I think, apologies, I'm forgetting her name, but wasn't one of the Rugby League Players Association, she was put into the judiciary or something to make decisions? Okay. Well, disregard that. Anyway, whoever makes the rules with the women's rugby league game, they came out and basically said, we're going to make it the same as the men's rugby league game, as in suspension's going to be the same. So, if you get a grade 3 or whatever, you miss 4 to 6 weeks, whatever it is in the men's game. But the concern was, so when people see that on face value, they go, oh, that's correct. Like, why wouldn't you make it the same? Like, we should be striving towards the same. But the problem with that is, and a few women rugby league players have come out and argued against it, and they're 100% right, is that it's not the same because they don't have the same season. So imagine if we break down into percentages. So if you do a grade 3, and I'm just using random numbers, if you do a grade 3 in rugby league and there's 25 rounds and you miss, let's say there's 20 rounds and you miss 5 matches, that's what? 25% of the 25% of the season? Sorry?
Yes.
25% of the season. Whereas if you miss 4 games of a 6-week season, 5-week season, that's 85 to 90% of the season. So they're not the same. And so I saw some people, I guess, commenting on it and going, if the girls want want equality or whatever, then why are they complaining about having the same judiciary system as the men? And so I just wanted to make sure to clear up, guys, it's not the same because they're only playing 5 games. So you can't expect these girls, because they made a mistake, and nearly every misdemeanor is a mistake. You cannot expect these girls to be missing 5 games of a season or 4 games of a season. Like, that would we need the girls on the park, the women on the park as much as possible. And I don't think suspending women for 4 or 5 games sends any other message other than we just want to destroy. How that can help the comp, I don't know. We already don't have enough numbers as it is. We've got 5. It's a 5-week season. So I agree with the women that have come out and said that's crazy. Like, why are we getting the same suspensions as the men when they have a full season? So hopefully they can change that, because that would be super unfair. A lot of these women work their jobs whilst they play. Imagine, taking a couple weeks or months off your job and then, doing a head high in the game 1 and you miss the season.
Well, it's not imagine. That's what they're doing. That's literally what a heap of these women are doing.
Well, what I mean is, imagine if you head high someone.
And this will be the reality for
miss a season, a whole season. So just for people that are like, oh, it's the same. It's actually not the same. It's not the same at all.
It's not even close to the same.
If it was the same, they should work on percentages. They should go, okay, if a grade 3 in a men's is 5 weeks and it's 20% of the season, then what's 20% of the women's season? It's like 1 game. You know what I mean? So instead of it being 4 weeks, it would be 1 game. So hopefully they fix that, because that to me is just, I think it comes from a really good place in trying to make it so that we're all working on the same, field. But I just think that it's just, in practice, it's totally incorrect, totally incorrect. But yeah, with the women's game, I'm excited. I really am. Am I going to watch every minute of every game? Probably not. But I tell you what, I'll be tuning in way more than I was tuning in a few years ago. That's for sure.
For sure.
So yeah, and also they've got a bit of history is building. You've got the Titans versus the Broncos. The Titans beat the Broncos in their first year of NRL. You've got Roosters Dragons that have a bit of a rivalry going now. We've got players trading between clubs.
And this Knights team now is stacked. They've built a really
Millie Boyle
up there. Yep.
Big recruit.
They've got.
Took it from the Broncos. Damn you, the Knights. You know what, Millie? Fuck you. Leaving the Broncos. How dare you? Not a fan anymore. Just saying. I'm burning my jersey.
Future Raiders Foundation NRLW club captain. Millie
give
Boyle.
me a break. I tell you what, there's only one worse place you can go than the Knights. That's Raiders. So look, I'm burning my jersey, Millie. I'm burning my jersey. You want to leave the Broncos? You're now my number 1 enemy. Who else we got? That's
you want to say the same thing to Adam Elliott or what?
yeah. So really, really exciting. Any other big transfers in the season, mate?
No, to be honest with you, I need to have a closer look at it when it all comes.
Yep. But hopefully, I wonder, So how many? So is it 2024 that we're getting a few more teams?
I believe so.
Yeah. Really exciting though. This next season is going to be great because they've already had the season at the start of the year, so they'll know each other. Their ball playing will be better. Their systems will be better. It's like even.
Next year we're getting more teams. Next
So 2023.
23, yeah.
Wow. And how are we extending the seasons at all? We'll have to.
Yeah. So basically, it's going to expand to 10 teams in 23, but the 24 expansion is going to be either a longer season or more teams. That's yet to be decided.
But like, if they get more teams, it's got to be a longer season, doesn't it?
Oh, for 23?
I mean, for 24 as well. Because like, if they've got more teams, they have to play more games, surely.
Yeah, I guess.
Surely everyone plays each other, so they
Yeah.
have to.
And if the editor or either that or there'd be like a pooled, like a World Cup type system.
Look, the good thing is it's getting better. You know, the girls that have come before and the girls now, they're all making sacrifices to make it work. And hopefully...
sorry, you're right. It's going to be played across 11 weeks overall next year. And that includes finals. So, yeah, it'll be a 9 regular round comp.
How good. That's awesome. And hopefully, you know, a lot of women that may not watch rugby league start watching the women's rugby league because that's the fan base that they need to get. You know, like, you know, for example, me, I can only watch so much rugby league.
Yeah.
Could you imagine watching bloody 2 full seasons? But yeah, it's great. Like if they can, you know, get the women on board and more young women start playing and they can build that women fan base, that's when they can really have their own game, make their own decisions, and instead of having to, you know, at the moment it is great that the men's game is helping it. I think it's the right decision. But how good would it be in a world where they could make a self-sufficient thing and have their own kind of freedom to make their own choices?
I think it's great for the comp too that it's not just the Brisbane. Like the last few years, it's been the Brisbane Broncos. You knew they were going to win. They were the best team by far and away. All of a sudden,
Millie dogs us, and sweet. Millie dogs us, and everyone else gets better. Great stuff. Thanks, Millie. It's all in jest. I know Millie can take it. I had her on a podcast quite a while ago. If you enjoy,
Millie can take it.
If you enjoy women's rugby league, I interviewed Millie Boyle. I don't know, maybe a year ago. It's on YouTube. Just type in Millie Boyle, Bloke in a Bar. Might even try and get some of the girls on before the season starts.
I'll put the interview in the bio of the YouTube.
Yeah, put the interview. It's a great interview. Really interesting.
Legend from incredible rugby league stock, the Boyles.
Oh, tell me about it. Okay. But when the women's games come, guys, we will make sure to try to preview and review the biggest news. Because as I said, like, you know, I'm not going to pretend like I'm going to watch every single game, but I absolutely will. As the years have gone on, I've watched more. Like when it first came out, I was like, not interested. But as each year's come on, the standards improved. I'm absolutely watching more than I did a few years ago, and I'm hoping that the women's fan base is increasing as well, because that's the key. That's the audience that they have to get.
Well, there are. I can tell you, around South Sydney at least, there are more and more girls teams.
That's great.
Popping up in juniors.
That's good, and that's how it has to happen. Like more young women play, then the more young women will grow up watching the women's game. That's the only way to grow it. Now, time for Team of the Week. The great Munster at fullback. Guru, you love Munster at fullback. I love Munster at fullback as well. I know a few weeks ago you brought it up. I think when the first injury happened, you brought it up. Had a few people calling you crazy. Then when Meaney went down, I was like, nah, they've got to put Munster back at fullback. And I'm pretty confident that me telling Cam Smith that got him. He rang Bellyache. He said, look, I got this fucking tip from the beak, and we all know he knows fucking footy. And then he put Munster to fullback. No, all jokes aside, Munster was fucking amazing at fullback. And honestly, I'm going to just say it selfishly, not caring about anything but my own pleasure. I enjoy watching footy with Munster at fullback more than at 6, even though I understand why he needs to be 6. We all know why. We all know why. Anyway, Sivo at 2.
Hold up, I got a question. Do you reckon now that Hughes is out and Meaney's back, do you reckon he'll go back to 6 this week?
I think he should stay. I was already in agreement with Guru initially going, maybe they should try Munster at fullback. Guru?
Yeah, I just think as it stands right now with all the injuries they've got, if I'm playing Melbourne and he's named at 5'8", I'm stoked. I know what I'm going to get. I know where he's going to be. If he's named at fullback,
we saw on the weekend.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He just
I know
pops
it's
up
the
wherever.
Titans, whatever, but he did it to the Blues 2 years ago.
He did it.
He's fitter
100%.
now than he ever has been. I'd be keeping him at 1. If Melbourne want to give this comp a real shake, I think they need an X factor, and him at 1 is going to be it, I think.
And are you telling me a halves pairing that has a Hughes in it doesn't have enough X factor in your halves? He has enough X factor. Put it this way, I guarantee you there is 15 other clubs, maybe 14 outside of Penrith, that would kill to have Hughes as their 7, and they'd almost say, we don't care who we have as 6. We just want that. That's how good Hughes is. So I said this to Cam Smith as well. I was like, Hughes is enough in the halves. Like, I know in a perfect world you'd have both of them come at you and you're going, fuck me. But Hughes is enough. Let him fucking run the ship, do all the good stuff. Cooper Johns, I thought he had one of his better games on the weekend. So, yeah, I agree.
But, yeah, in answer to Maddie's question, it will be interesting if Jerome's out for, let's say, 2 weeks. They're saying 1 to 3. I mean, who do you play Nick Meaney at 5'8"? What do you do?
Well, Meaney's still probably out for another week as well. It could be at least he's in that same sort of 1 to 3 week mould as well. So if he misses, the thing about it is they don't have a lot of fullback options to lean on. Whereas in the halves they can bring in Tyron Wishart, who's more of a half than after being named at fullback originally. Yep. Tyron Wishart, they've got Nicarima there, so they do have halves that can come in to partner Cooper Johns there. Whereas fullbacks, they're pretty scarce.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. I mean, look. And this is absolutely no disrespect for Tyron Wishart. I think he is such a goer, but he's not a fullback. No. So if you're putting him at fullback, you're clearly quite low. Now, you would know better than me, Guru, but don't they have a really good young fullback at like Sunshine Coast Falcons or something like that?
Well, they've got the other one that we haven't spoken about. They could bring in young Pizzette, who we saw in the under-19s.
Don't they have a Union guy, All Blacks Union guy?
Yeah, Will Warbrick. But he's more of a centre.
Okay.
And he's been carrying injuries the last few weeks as well. They've also got young Luke Paulselli, I believe his name is, very talented, but he hasn't really been on the radar. And I think that a lot of these guys, if they haven't used them up until this point,
then they're probably not ready.
Probably don't think they will.
I will say though, if Hughes doesn't play, you probably have to play Munster in the halves just for the direction. I actually think Hughes will probably play this week. Have they ruled him out?
No. He hasn't been ruled out. They've cleared him of serious injury. But
I've subluxed my shoulder before, and I've played. I think they'll just needle him up and strap his shoulder.
Yeah, the chat's 1 to 3 weeks.
1 to 3 weeks. Okay, so touch or go. I think there's a chance he might play. I really do.
Can they fall out of the 8? Is it still possible?
Yeah, I think they can. They're at 26 points at the moment?
So they're on 28. The Raiders are on 22. There's only 4 rounds left, so the Raiders would have to win every single game.
They'd have to lose everyone.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they don't rush.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But they're also still looking at top 4. But then I guess they've got Penrith at Penrith this week. Maybe they just go, let's not rush him back.
It's Penrith? Yeah. Okay, yeah, not bringing Hughes back.
You could be onto something. The wording is he may miss 1 to 2 weeks with further diagnosis to come early this week.
I'll be shocked if he plays Penrith this week.
Look, the fact that they can't fall out of the 8, I think they're probably going to resign themselves to probably not a top 4 finish. In saying that, Broncos were really poor on the weekend, so they were poor in patches.
Para in 5th have a tough draw as well, so it's up.
Yeah. As to South Sydney in 6th.
Yeah. They can lose this week, the Storm, and still make the top 4. That way.
Yeah. Okay. So probably smart you'd be crazy to play Hughes then. Real interesting game for Melbourne Storm. Because this could get... Well, they don't have clear in that, but we saw how good Penrith were. Anyway, we're going to get to that. Fuck me, boys. Jesus Christ. We're doing the Team of the Week, Guru.
We're up to wingers.
1 player into Team of the Week.
Yeah. And we just got sidetracked. We talked about Melbourne Storm. We talked about who's the best fullback. Anyway.
I blame Matty, to be fair.
Yeah, that was Matty's fault. Okay, so... The great Munster at fullback for me, I thought he was outstanding. Sivo on the wing. Now, I've broken my cardinal rule, but it's only because I love this bloke so much. Well, I love both of these blokes so much. My centres this week are the great Dylan Edwards. And you know what I love about Dylan Edwards? He's finally starting to get the love that he deserves. Talk about... He's the indestructible man. Seriously. He was getting belted. I mean, sure, I would bet my life on the fact that Ricky Stewart has gone, every time he gets the ball, I want you to fucking jam him. And it's like a pinball machine. He was just like fucking all over the shop, but he kept getting up, kept delivering. I'm such a huge fan of Edwards. And I am going to go as far to say Edwards is a schmokey for the Australian squad at the end of the year. What do you guys think?
He's one hell of a centre, that's for sure.
I actually reckon he'd go all right at centre.
He would go all right at centre. But yeah, no, I think he could be a bit of a smoky as well. What do you take, like a 30-man squad? They're going overseas. So.
Well, I'm just trying to think. So Tommy Trbojevic, he can be back, but will Manly release him? Probably not. Then you've got Kalen Ponga, who may be back, but should he play? He probably shouldn't. So, like, all of a sudden, like, I think Meninga probably sees Latrell more as a centre. So, I don't see him being picked in the squad as a fullback, even though he can play fullback. All of a sudden, you're going, he's probably the next in line. Like, Kalen Ponga doesn't play, Tom Trbojevic doesn't play. Let's assume that they don't. Who else would you have to back Teddy up?
That's fair.
Maybe Gutho.
Gutho, yeah.
You reckon that he would leapfrog Edwards at the moment with form? Even though I thought Gutho was outstanding.
I mean, he's clearly, it's obviously a different setup. But
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
been ahead of him in the New South Wales pecking order for a couple of years now. They'd also see Gutho as being more versatile. You know, we know he can fill in the back line in the halves if need be, whereas Edwards is an out-and-out fullback. So maybe Gutho.
Yeah, I can see Gutho's
I
name.
think they'd go Gutho.
You reckon they'd go Gutho?
I do, yeah.
I tell you what, I bet you a case of beer they go Edwards.
It's an unfair bet because you've got beer ready to go for you. I actually have to fork out.
I just feel like, oh, you grab one over there, bro. You on your way out, just grab one.
Make it 2 cases of Bloke V1 and we'll talk.
You know what? I'm so confident, you don't even have to give me a case of beer. If I'm wrong, I'll give you a case of beer.
Let's do it.
I mean, the funny thing is, though, you can grab a case whenever you want.
My kind of punny.
Do they... I assume they're going to take Hines with them. Could you take him as a fullback?
I think Hines is just an out-and-out 7 now. Like, we saw him transition back to that 1 spot. Look, put it this way. Who would have been selected at fullback if Teddy was injured at New South Wales? I think Edwards would have got the call-up.
I reckon they would have gone Hines. I really do.
You reckon Hines?
Too.
I reckon they would have gone Edwards. Interesting. Let us know in the comments section. Do you feel that Edwards will get selected in the squad over, say, a Hines, or do you think Hines will... as in, like, Hines will be a backup fullback / half?
As I said a few weeks ago, I think that if Penrith do win this competition, I think you'll see a fair whack of those guys. I think you'll see Appy, and I think you could see Edwards then at that point.
Yeah.
I think the differentiating factor, and I like it, I think Hines at fullback is just... Edwards has been unreal this year. Hines has got the ball playing ability, which is so key, as we know, to fullbacks. It's not a massive knock on Edwards, but I think if you can add that like top line ball playing on the end of backline movement, I think Hines would be the man. Or even Gutho slightly ahead because of that reason alone.
Because, like, so are you saying, do you reckon then Hines over Moses in the squad? Because, like, you would go Cleary for sure. DCE, is he in the squad, you reckon?
I think so, with Mal as coach.
Yeah, and also with what he did at Game 3.
Yeah, and to be fair, what he did do in Game 3, yeah.
Man, we got so
I mean, at the end of the day,
so good.
it's still
so good.
Chez's jersey.
At the end of the day, you're right. I think they should go Cleary, in my opinion, even though what DC did was fucking amazing.
I would go Cleary, but I think that if Cleary was to get injured the week of the grand final of the World Cup, I think I'd want Chez in there.
Chez in there, yeah, for sure. For sure. I can see a world where Hines been pretty good. Anyway, we got plenty of time to talk about the World Cup squad. But yeah, Edwards at 3. He's so impressive. Such an impressive young man. Latrell at number 4. I had to just get him there, guys. Like, he is the silkiest big fella the game has ever seen. I don't care what anyone says. I'll argue till the cows come home. Tell me when we're seeing a guy with a front rower's body. He's so big, so strong, but has the ball playing of a silky, silky little 7. I don't think we've ever seen it. Is there anyone that comes to mind for you that has as silky hands as him as a big boy?
No, I don't think so. Not especially at the pace he does it and the positions he does it. It's incredible.
Like, even the one where he caught the ball, like, wrong.
Yeah.
Flipped it in his hands quickly, and then went like that. It's just like, bro, you don't see that from blokes that are 6'4", 105 to 10 kilos. He'd probably be 100. What do you reckon he'd be at the moment? 105, 6?
I don't know. I'm not playing the
weight game.
Latrell's weight game. I fucking hate this conversation.
Oh, it's not a negative way.
Oh, yeah,
I mean in a positive of he's a
yeah.
fucking big, strong motherfucker.
Yeah.
He's a big boy.
I said to you a few weeks ago, like, I remember watching him at the Roosters and going, fuck, he's incredibly talented, but I don't know if he's got the ball skills to play one.
Everyone thought that. The only, you know what's funny is because the only reason why I had so much confidence that he would play fullback is I was speaking to him personally at that time, and he just kept saying, he's like, bruh, I was like a half when I was going up. Like, my ball playing is sweet. And I was like, fuck, if he's saying that, I'm going to believe it. But even then, I was like, when I saw him ball playing for the first time, I was like, I cannot believe how silky this guy is. Like, it's just incredible. So, Latrell Mitchell at 4. Suali'i. Oh, this kid. Seriously. I fucking hate his guts after what he did to the Broncos. But, mate, I'm telling you, the drums are beating louder for him to get selected in that squad. Because even Mal Meninga came out and said he's a real possibility to be in that squad. I think he's almost a lock in that Australian squad for me.
I think he pretty much is a lock, yeah.
Like, even if he plays poorly for the rest of the year, his potential and future, and also from a games perspective of like, yeah, the Rugby Union World Cup is all coming around. We need to get him in like the systems as quickly as possible. So Suoliti at 5. Dylan Brown, oh my God, he's so fucking cool, bro. He's the coolest cat in all the land. Talk about, and he did it like, it didn't look like he was nervous at all. Like, the Eels are under the pump. They lose Mitchell Moses. This kid at like 21 years old, is it 21 or 22? 21, 22, looked chill as anything. Couple of tries. He's 22. Couple of tries, tore them to bits. And we saw his pace on the weekend. Far out. Yeah. I told you he was quick. He's fucking such an athlete. Hines at 7. Mate, he's so silky. I just love the fact that he touches the ball nearly every fucking second play. So good. Cotter at 8, a joke. How this guy is back in this form, I'll never know so quickly. Then I had Harry Grant at 9. I thought Robson played really well, though. But Harry Grant, I mean, once he polishes his game, Harry Grant, seriously going to be incredible. Totola at 10. Lane at 11. Crichton at 12. Murray, 3 try assists in the first 18 minutes of the game. He had an absolute belter of a game. Nat Butcher, I thought Nat Butcher had probably the best game of his career. I just wish it wasn't against the Broncos. Isaiah Yeo, I thought he stepped up without Cleary. Leilua from the Cowboys, massive, and Nikora at 17. What do you have, Guru?
Pretty similar. I went with Munster at 1. I found wingers really tough this week. I picked Isaac Thompson from South Sydney. It was his debut.
Yeah, I thought he was really solid.
I think his first 5 touches of the ball, he got a penalty. His first 5 touches.
He's a big boy.
Big bit of gear. Yeah, he was good. I went Sivo the other wing. Then centres I thought was hard too. I went for Penasini, and then I went for Tuala from Newcastle.
I think, and apologies if I get this wrong, I think it's Pensini.
Pensini.
I listened to it on the Eels thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's Pensini, but apologies if I'm incorrect because it's spelt Penasini.
Yeah.
But when I listened to it on the Eels Instagram page, it was Pensini. But I could be wrong. So
Had
sorry.
a cracking game. He was really good. 6, I went Dill Brown. I think you mentioned Dill Brown, his pace. I think from watching him the last 6 or 7 weeks, I think he's been carrying an injury as well. I think now you might start to see Dill Brown open up again. Nico Hines at 7. I went to Tola and Josh Papali'i in the front row with Harry Grant at 9. Colin Muntungi and Angus Crichton in the back row with Cam Murray at 13. Then my bench picked Latrell, Nikora, Lucian Leilua and Sean Lane.
What did you go, Timmy?
Sorry, I just looked at the pronunciation. You're right. It's Benzini.
Benzini.
There you go. Boom. Cam Munster at fullback, stacked field there. Wingers, Micah Sivo and Jason Saab. Centres, really difficult. Stephen Crichton and Enari Tuala. Dylan Brown, and at halfback over Nico Hines, actually went Cooper Johns. I thought it was really good against obviously softer opposition, but 4 line assists, 3 try assists, pretty serious stats.
Sullivan was really good too, just quickly. Yeah.
Front rowers, Campbell Gillard and Totola, Damien Cook at 9. Back rowers with Sean Lane and Angus Crichton. I did have Nat Butcher, and then going a little bit probably stat heavy, but Butcher ran for 55 metres. Crichton was really good and ran for 150 odd, so I went with Crichton. Cam Murray at lock, and bench was Latrell, Ruben Cotter, Papali'i, and big bad Griffin Neem, who was
the Neem stuff.
Griffin Neem,
mate. The Neem, he's a great signing for the Dolphins.
Starting to bag a bit of meat as
Kiwi
well.
too.
He's got a taste for the try line.
Oh, Big Red fucking loves it. Big Red flying on the edges for a try.
2 tries in 2 weeks.
Yep, and 2 crucial tries too. Like they're both in crucial moments. Yeah, Neem has been, because the Cowboys have had these like Nanai just fucking killing it. Neem's been flying under the radar, but he's a gun. I feel
like we're the only people talking about Neem during the season too.
Just quietly. Now, on to, seriously, the biggest robbery I've ever seen, worst rest ever, Roosters versus Broncos. No, I jest. I thought the Roosters' first 20, they absolutely bashed us. It's funny, the toughest, the most physically demanding game I ever played was a semi-final against the Roosters. And I remember we're talking like Marco Mealy, like all the big dogs, fullback Anthony Minicello, the half was Braithen Astar. We went down there, and it reminded me a lot of that game. So there must be, Trent Robinson, I know he wouldn't have been the coach then, but the Roosters must just have a thing with the Broncos. We went down there, and I remember walking off at halftime, and we were all looking at each other going, holy fuck, what the fuck just happened? Like, they were so aggressive. Like, Carmichael got jammed. Like, everyone was getting shot. We're all sitting around, and you could just feel this kind of shell shock of like, holy shit, these guys are fucking going crazy. But then there was this like calm that came over us because like there's Darren Lockyer, there's Justin Hodges, and we just knew our cream of the crop would just rise to the top. Come out the second half, your boy scores a try, we get in front, and then we go to the next semi, which was against Melbourne Storm, that famous loss we had. Fuck me, dead. Just hold the ball. Anyway, so it reminded me a lot of that. Like, you know, Broncos away down there.
You reckon Ricky Stewart holds on to things?
Yeah, Roosters, I thought they were outstanding for the first 20 especially. I think that their middle 20 of their game needs a lot of work. We saw against Manly, they were very similar, real heavy front load like their efforts. Look, it's hard. Like the Roosters, they're definitely getting better. And yet they probably should have, once they got out to that lead, they probably should have beaten the Broncos by a pretty substantial margin. I think the Broncos did really well to get back in it, but there was just some really crucial errors, like from just poor errors that haven't been in the game for a while for the Broncos. We'll speak about the Roosters first, Guru. What did you think about the Roosters?
It was funny, at about the 20-minute mark, I wrote about 3 texts to you and then deleted them all, sort of say, oh, it looks like the Roosters might be back. Then I was like, oh, he's probably in the hurt.
Yes.
He'll be happy to be potentially right, but devastated about his Broncos. I thought, fuck
I'll
talk to him tomorrow.
It was a glass cage of emotion because I'm like, the Roosters are proving my point, but they're tearing my team up.
Yeah, and the first 20 minutes, they looked unreal. I was very impressed with them early, but then, I don't know, after that, it was just more of the Roosters. I don't know. I'm still not convinced they're where they need to be. I don't think, mate, I said about Brisbane 2 weeks ago in here that Brisbane are the team that I know what I'm going to get every week. It's been the opposite since. It's probably been is it fair to say their 2 worst performances?
Outside of, I think they had a bit of a lull in the middle of the year. What I gather from it, this is a young team that I think just got a bit comfortable. Like, we're killing it. We can take it to the best teams. We had this big win. And so they've just gotten a bit comfortable and just forgotten of how high the standards have to be each week to continue that. That's the feeling I get. And it's no knock. It's a young as anything team. So the year is still a success. But I tell you what, let's just say they can actually dive out of the 8. That's the scary thing. They're sitting on 26 points, I think. If they lose 2 and the Raiders win 3 of the next 4, so we could fall out of it. So very scary time for the Broncos. And the sad thing is if we do fall out of the 8, an incredible year that has turned the table of a great club turns into a disaster, even though for most of the year we were a top 4 side. And so they need to be fucking real careful they don't do that.
You play Newcastle this week.
I hope the problem is we don't want them to be too comfortable. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, and just like, we'll beat Newcastle.
It's a danger game for you.
Exactly, because it's almost like, it's nearly, we had some tough losses before. We'll turn it around. Let's talk about Broncos. Let's talk about Broncos quickly, and then we'll get on to the Roosters. I personally think changes need to be made. I think that Tessie New came back. His first 2 games were outstanding. Incredible. Last 2 games for me have been probably similar-ish to kind of you're falling into some maybe old bad habits. I think some of his line running needs a bit of work. Some of his decision making at fullback just needs a little bit of work. I still think he can be a fullback. I just don't know if he's ready for it yet. I would like to move Tessie New to centre. Dean Mariner, he's been really solid, but he's a youngster. Put him back. You know, we all, like most people in their first year of first grade, play 2 to 3 games. They go back, they learn their craft. I would like to see Tessie moved to centre. I would like Tamate Martin moved to fullback. And now some people say, well, Tamate Martin's not there next year, but Reece Walsh is coming next year. So a couple of weeks ago, we were saying Tessie New could challenge Reece Walsh for a fullback position. I probably have to say now, after the past 2 games, that unfortunately I don't see that happening. I think Reece Walsh is much more suited to it. The only reason why I thought Tessie might challenge Reece is because those 2 games were the best games of his career. These last 2 games, unfortunately, he just hasn't looked as comfortable at fullback. There's a couple other... Ezra Mam, I would be sitting down with Ezra Mam and I would be saying, Ezra, you've had an incredible year, but this is almost like if you play poorly again this game, we're probably going to have to bring someone like Tyson Gamble in at 6. I'd give Ezra Mam one more crack. He's had an incredible year, but I definitely consider bringing Gamble in if next game he doesn't, play well. Who else is there that I was going to make some changes? Yeah, there's some other changes that I can't really think of at the moment. Corey Jensen's not getting as much time, I don't think. I thought he was one of our best. When we're on that run, Corey Jensen was incredible for us. So I think that we need to get him some more time. Some shining lights have been Hassan Flegler. I think they've been outstanding. I think our bench hasn't had as much impact as it had at the start of the year. So maybe you need to look at that. But they're the key changes I would probably make for the next round. What do you reckon, Guru?
That's a lot. I don't disagree with any of it.
Queensland's picking and sticking, mate. Please.
Give me a break. Talk about holding on to things.
I think it'll be interesting with Tessie New what happens. From what I've heard that Mariner isn't going to be playing this week.
Okay.
Sounds like Branko might come in for him.
That's another option. Branko's solid
another
when he
option, but I don't mind the option of moving Tessie out of fullback, but I would like to keep him in the team somewhere.
Yep.
So I don't mind your shout of playing him at centre.
Well, that's where he was playing a bit last year.
Yeah, and
I think he'd be a good
there.
centre. Because the problem the Broncos face is like Tessie New's ball running is absolutely better than Tomato Martin's. But his ball playing isn't, Tomato Martin's is silky ball playing. So the Broncos have to face the hard question of like, do we want our fullback to make us a lot of meters or do we want our fullback to be silky? And it's just a few little things like every time Tessie gets, not every time, but a lot of the time when Tessie gets a ball at the back, he's reaching like that. And if it happens enough, you've got to change your line because clearly Reynolds likes to play up flat with that. And he's so used to say like a Cody Walker at the back that played really flat and was real good at his pacing. And so
you can see it frustrates Reynolds.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It gets frustrating for Reynolds because that's what he's used to, and whereas Tessie is used to being a much deeper sweeping player.
And Brisbane are also in the position where, like, let's say they do want to go down the Tamari route where, yardage won't be as good, the metres out of his own end won't help. You've got Cobbo and Oates, who are two of the best yardage players, wingers in the competition there, so you don't really need it out of your fullback.
Yeah. Look, and even some like little things like just overcalling sometimes where they'd go down a short side where nothing was on. Sometimes like he would skip across too much instead of just straighten up and his run and just going hard when it comes to like kick returns or whatever. So I'm a huge fan of Tessie. Please do not mistake this with me saying that Tessie can never be the fullback. That's not it at all. I just think he might need a little bit longer, another preseason under his belt. These things take time. We have to remember the kid is 20 years old? He's young as anything. He's young. 2021. I reckon you put him in the centre. We know he's tough. He's 20? Fuck me. So young. We know he's tough as anything. We know he's fit as anything. And he's a good, strong body. So get him at centre, get him some ball. I think he'd go really well at centre. Then regroup in the preseason, get him alternating with Reece Walsh at fullback, and then you go from there. Because he's given us proof that he can play some real high-quality fullback footy.
I think it was pretty obvious the other night too that when you come up against a good seven, that Tessie can get caught out defensively.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, like you could just see Sam Walker. He was just zoning the entire time. He didn't care what tackle it was.
Yeah.
If he saw him out of position, he was
kicking.
taking him on. And I thought Tessie got lucky a couple of times where Walker overcooked it by a metre or two, and it went dead. And it was a bit of a get out of jail. But the reality is, you're 4 weeks away from finals footy. You're going to be playing a good halfback every single week.
Yep.
And that's something that they'll start to take note of.
For sure. So I totally agree. Tessie needs to stay on the side. He's proven it. It's just I think Tomato Martin may be better at the fullback position when it comes to silky hands and positioning.
A very minor one, but it's around the rotations there. Corey Jensen, who we spoke about a lot earlier in the year, was in that starting role and doing a fantastic job. Brisbane were winning a lot of games of footy. Now Tommy Flegler, who we're his biggest fans on this podcast, has been starting. Why do you think they made the change there to start Tommy? Because they've started quite slowly the last 2 weeks, the Roosters, and Jensen's gone to the bench. I don't know why they flipped that around.
I think Flegler just was playing such fucking good footy.
But Flegler off the bench, coming onto a more tiring defence, he's got a bit of footwork for a big boy. He's got a fantastic offload, which has caused so much damage this year for the Bronx. I liked him off the bench. You can still play in the same minutes, in a different rotation.
I agree with you, and that's why I said Corey Jensen needs more minutes. Like, I just think that Jensen's really good at that first 20 just to take the brunt of things.
Yeah, for sure.
And I agree. Flegler off the bench was just out. We were bringing on a top tier front rower, like a top tier front rower. So the tough thing is Carrigan has kind of thrown a lot out of whack because he's injured.
Yeah.
And he cleans a lot of shit up.
Well, I sort of felt like your best 20 minutes the other night was when Flegler came back from his HIA. You finally started to get some yardage there. I think the other one that I think he's so talented, he's not getting much time either, is Paliasia.
Look, he came on and he had a few little lapses where I was like, he just didn't seem to be concentrating as much as he did. Because
Okay.
at the start of the year, he was amazing.
There was that
Amazing.
period where Payne Haas was out and he came in and played
Pretty
big
well.
minutes, and
Yeah.
I thought he did really well. But yeah, I agree. I think Corey Jensen, Corey Jensen still played 45 minutes on the weekend, but I'd be starting with him.
Yeah, you just start him just to lock that forward. Like, not to say that Flegler is a poor defender at all, but he's just he's so impactful off the bench. So impactful.
And the other one you've got due back, likely this week, could be next week, is Rabati. Does he come back onto your bench? Or?
Oh, sorry, that's the other change I would make. Hosking's got to be on the side, and I'd move Ricky to the bench.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
I just think like Hosking was offering so much. I think Ricky, he might be better as an impact player. I just don't know whether. I think sometimes he gets a bit fatigued as an 80-minute edge back rower. And again, Ricky is still so young. So, I mean, Hosking's young as well, but I don't know. It just seemed that we had more oomph off the edge with Hosking's there. I'd give Ricky some time on the bench and just say, mate, go on and rip and tear for 20 minutes, and then we'll bring you off, and then we'll bring you back on.
Play that Helam Lukey role off the bench on the edge, because there's not a lot of clubs who don't have 80-minute back rowers. Then the Cowboys, and Peyton was probably one of very few to bring an edge back rower off the bench and bring him on, and he did it so successfully with Lukey, and you're right, maybe Ricky can be that same sort of X factor off the bench.
I think with Jordan Ricky, that because he's come in with so much hype and everything, like we do forget, he's in his third or fourth year of rugby league. Like I remember talking to his assistant, to his coach in reserve grade, Rowan Smith, 3 years ago, and said, "Oh, who have you got at the Devils that's good?" And he said, "Oh, this kid's really good, but he is very raw."
Yeah.
And he said to me at the time, "I'm worried about bringing him into this Broncos system because you were going like a busted at the time, because he will end up playing this huge minutes all of a sudden, and he's probably not ready for it."
And
at this
so he's a
point.
union player?
Yep.
Yeah. So, like, Ricky's had some really good games, especially, I think, his last game, not the Roosters one before. But, yeah, I don't know, Hoskins, I just felt he was really good. Another thing I would say, I do think that our senior players in Catewell and Reynolds probably need to be a little bit better. I think Catewell's missed quite a few tackles, and Reynolds' kicking game has been nowhere near as good as what we've seen. So it's not just the young fellas that are struggling. I think it's, you go as far to say nearly 17 blokes haven't been playing as well as they were early this year. Maybe the only exception is like a Haas and Flegler, but Flegler probably suits off the bench at the moment better for us. I think it also shows you how important Carrigan is to the side, like far out. Super, super important. So, yeah.
Did Kobe Hetherington get injured? Like he played 35 minutes.
I would start, if on a full-strength Broncos side, I would start Haas and Carrigan in the front row, and Kobe would be my starting 13. I really like him longer minutes. I just think he offers a lot of speed around the ruck, good ball playing, great defence, really fit.
So he came off in the 17th minute. He returned in the 50th and came off in the 64th.
So he went off in the 17th minute with a HIA.
Yeah.
But the 60th minute, it just says normal interchange. So I don't know if he was injured or if it was because the official HIA was in the 17th minute.
Yeah,
Sometimes you just don't know with interchange. It could be injury. It could be he's nursing an injury. So yeah, the Broncos for sure. They better turn around quick, because unfortunately, it can go from an incredible dreamlike year to a disaster in 4 matches. Could you imagine? Could you imagine how devastating that is for the boys that have worked so hard? They've worked their asses off, and they deserve all the praise they can get. But the same people that have been praising the Broncos will be riding them to death if they miss the 8. So I believe in them. I think they can turn it around for sure. A few little tweaks here and there. I think Reece Walsh is a godsend now. Like when you see, okay, we're losing Tomato Martin, maybe Tessie's a little bit away from, his full potential at fullback. Reece Walsh at the back there, I think he'd be great. So
obviously, we've spoken the last few weeks about those two. Who's going to play fullback? Are we getting close to considering Selwyn, or not yet?
Nah, not yet. Even Selwyn was a little bit quiet even on the weekend. He's still got a ways to go, in my opinion. He's still got a ways to go. I want to see a good year or full year, 2 years of first grade footy before we move him back to fullback.
Selwyn go on the World Cup tour?
I would have said, I'm just a bit I just want to see a few games out of him since coming back from the headlocks.
Yeah, okay.
But with his incredible future, I probably would bring him in the squad. I just think that Suoliti and Cobbo, like, they're long-term superstars in this. You get them in early, get them in the systems early.
Can't you just see those two scoring 3 tries each against a France
mate,
or
far out.
Only
just
three.
absolutely
Only
fucking
3,
giving
yeah.
it to
3 would be conservative.
Yeah.
So, yes, and another senior player like Corey Oates probably had one of his poorer games. He made like 3 or 4 errors. So it's not just the young guys that are struggling; it's the squad as a whole. And I just, as I said, I just think they got a little bit comfortable. It's normal. Even when I played in 2008, we had guys like Darren Lockyer, Hodges, all these boys, Mick Innes. We got comfortable towards the end of the year. So it happens to every squad. It's the ones that are the tippity top that don't get comfortable.
It's not panic stations yet.
No.
If you don't 13 plus the Knights this weekend, then it'll be like, all right, something needs to change.
Yeah, like watching the Knights play on the weekend, we should beat them by 13 plus.
Saturday night under lights at Suncorp.
We should be a really good strong win, and our completion rate should be high. Seriously. So yeah, really really disappointing. Now onto the Roosters. So hard because there was patches of like, wow, this Roosters side is here to play. And then the other patches where you're going, what? Like error after error after error. I think they actually ended up having a worse completion rate than the Broncos. But I know I say it every week, I still think...
Way worse.
Yeah.
Way worse. 66% to 81%.
That's why I was so disappointing with the Broncos' loss, because they couldn't get points. They just kept making crucial errors at crucial times. But yeah, the Roosters had terrible completion rate and they still won. And so it's like the Manly situation where I'm like, they still found a way. They still found a way. And they showed signs of great footy. What do you reckon about the Roosters, Guru?
Before we get to the Roosters, just Victor Radley.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Is he sweet?
Loves it. He loves it. I love it.
I was just sitting there watching it going, I cannot believe this guy's never going to play Origin.
Yeah, I know.
It's devastating.
It is devastating. Selfishly, it's so devastating. Him in a Blues jersey would be fucking incredible.
What about when he copped the first hit and he was bent over and it looked like someone was pouring blood out of a cup
I know.
out of his head? It was
one of the most like gushing cuts I've ever seen.
And then like he spoke after the game and they were like, "You all right?" And he just sort of went, "Oh, it's like a drug. I want more." It's like,
What a madman.
like you've been in a car accident.
Crazy. Went back on there. You know what's funny is like the Dale Finucane situation, like the tackle on Corey Oates was a head clash. So it's like we're so inconsistent because the head clashes, at least 2 to 3 head clashes happened on the weekend. George Burgess, when his eye against the Sharks, there was a head clash. Like, anyway, sorry to derail.
And like, whilst we talk about Radley, how tough he is and all this stuff, like the ball that he threw to Teddy for the first try,
Silky as anything.
Like, I know there's guys like Cam Murray and Isaiah that have obviously jumped ahead of Victor Radley, but fuck, don't forget about him as a 13. Once he puts it all together again, he's so talented.
He's the best ball playing 13. Not the best 13, I don't think, but his ball playing is the best in the comp, I reckon. Timmy, what do you reckon of the Roosters?
Yeah, round 21, a week 21 of roaming Joey watch.
Yep.
That Angus Crichton try, there was a really good angle, I should say, from behind the line of that unfolding. And Joey Manu went to the left side, was playing as that roaming sort of fullback. Manu was running one line, Teddy was out the back running another line, and then Crichton was running short. And Crichton ended up being the one who scored the try just because the defensive line are going, who the hell do we go for here?
Yeah.
And it's just been this constant conversation of, too many chefs in the kitchen. If the Roosters can make it work with all these attacking guns, like, dear Lord, they could be anything. This was the first moment that I was like, that was just poetry in motion.
Yeah.
I was terrified watching it. And so, again, can they get it all going and in sync before the finals come out? I don't know, but I loved watching it as a footy fan.
It's right there. Oh. It's at the fingertips, you know what I mean? It's fucking right there. It just like their completion rate was so poor.
How scary are those sets where they play hallway footy and Suaalii goes, then Manu goes from dummy half, then Teddy goes from dummy half, then Manu goes
You can't stop it.
All of a sudden they've made 60 metres.
Yeah. It's honestly...
And they haven't gone more than 2 metres wide.
And that's why, like, if they could do that nearly every set. It just got to complete. And by the time you hit the 60th minute, you'd be so fatigued as a Broncos forward that the points would just pour. They would pour on, but they just kept killing themselves.
Kempy, it's that Penrith game plan, isn't it, that you talk about with their back three and their yardage that has been so successful for them, and you've raved on about it for all season about how then the pack get their rest coming out of their own end.
Yeah.
So then when they're in defensive line after the kick, they're just flying off the line. Now the Roosters, that has to be their blueprint, doesn't it? Because we know they can score points.
Yeah.
They're obviously a far more flamboyant side than what Penrith are in the way they play. Like, they're quite different, but that, and then you throw in the fact that Lindsay Collins, we don't know exactly how long he'll be out for with the concussions, but, hopefully back within the next few weeks. Takiaho back in as well this week. So they've got some big boys coming back.
Yep.
There was sets there where Adam Reynolds would kick deep, and I felt like saying to the Roosters front rows, just stay where you are.
Yeah.
They're going to get to you before you're going to get to them.
Yeah, seriously, just chill. Like a back line with Tupou, Suoli'i, Manu, Momorowski's no slouch, and obviously Tedesco. It's almost like the best running back line in the comp. Like, I would Taylor May and To'o versus Suali and Tupou. Like, that's a fucking good competition. And you probably go to Tupou right now. You'd probably go Tupou, Suali. So, mate, it's right there. The completions. That's it.
And that's the thing with the Roosters back five or whatever it is. Like, if you want to hit up, you've got to go in and fight for one.
Yeah.
Because if Teddy takes it on first, he'll want it on third again.
Yeah, no. It's just, they've got this crazy setup. It's just, I think, taking Robbo a bit of time to find out, like, what works. Like, how can we get this to work? And I think that they're finding it. I really do think they're finding it.
And like, I've been pretty off the Roosters, but like, it hasn't been easy for them. Bradley's missed a heap of weeks. Kiri's been in and out. Like, Teddy had to go away and play Origin.
Walker's 19 years old.
In his second year, like, I say it all the time, but I also think James Tedesco, like, he had to play 3 positions last year.
Literally.
And then all of a sudden now he's just got to go back to a normal fullback.
And look at the
role.
form he's hitting.
Yeah. And then you got to fit Connor Watson in somewhere. Like, it's tough.
It's interesting because, like, Robbo's carrying, like, arguably 3 small blokes on the bench. So that's where I think he really is beginning to discover what his team needs in regards to, like, 3 small blokes. Well, that means we just want to be fucking super fast through the middle, win the ruck with quick play the balls. I think the Roosters are going to be a scary side. We've still got 4 weeks of the season to go. There's 4 weeks for them to figure this out. I wouldn't want to play them week 1 of the finals.
Shout out as well to Sammy Walker's goal kicking, which was
So much
really
better.
poor early in the year. He's obviously worked at that so hard, getting significantly better every single week now.
Oh, mate.
Don't need to sort of exaggerate how important that's going to be come finals time. Well, not even then, like, they're battling to make the 8, so huge for them.
Yeah.
I was watching them on the weekend. I think it's pretty evident that Suoli, he's obviously been told to hold his width on all their plays. Is there a world where you start to consider moving him over to left centre, give them more strike there, and then bring one of these other guys to play on the right wing?
I just think he offers so much with those carries off the wing, and also the crossfield kick. I just think he offers so much. I keep him there. Honestly, he is so important to their set. Like, imagine the Roosters right now without Suoli'i. Like, they would get nowhere near the set dominance they
I know
get.
we said it last week, but imagine South Sydney with him.
Oh, yeah, South Sydney with him would be fucking amazing.
Let's say they do end up in a big finals clash with Penrith, whatever. You'd give the ascendancy to Penrith. They'd be going in as pretty firm favourites. But you speak of those wingers and the height advantage that Suoli'i and Tupou are going to have over May and To'o. If it turns into that real finals grind, maybe there's some wet weather, those crossfield kicks could have a huge say in the result.
Massive say in the result. So, like, Suoli'i and Tupou, that's a scary, scary wing combination. Like, I can't... Usually a team has one of them and you're going, fuck, watch out for such and such. Watch it. They got 2 of them and they're huge, huge frames, super athletic. So I think the Roosters, although, 40 minutes of this game, they were really poor, if they can just sort their completion rate out, they're a scary team. They're real. Nat Butcher, I thought, had the best game of his career on the weekend. I thought it was really good. Angus Crichton's hitting good form. Angus Crichton, can you please check, Matty? But Angus Crichton's still yet to be signed for next year. Is that correct?
Yep.
What is going on there? Surely, like, are the Roosters trying to move people on? Like, what's going on? How Angus Crichton hasn't signed anywhere? Like, he must be being told by the Roosters, we're freeing up space, and the Roosters must be struggling to free it up. Well, like, what else could it be?
I hope it's not the World Cup, the Union World Cup.
But wouldn't he already signed? Like, the Roosters are ruthless. If they found out that he was playing them against the Union, they'd cut him straight
for sure.
away.
But as you said, what else could it be? That's the only thing that I can sort of think of. It doesn't.
Yeah, I think personally, it's literally he wants to stay, but they just don't have cap space.
Don't have it. Yeah.
Because wasn't there an article saying they couldn't register his contract earlier in the year? So but then you look at that squad and you're like, who are they moving on? Doesn't look like anyone's not happy. Doesn't look like anyone's, on the outer.
It's a weird one because it's still in our Google Drive. I have a post, Angus Crichton re-signs, and that was last November. He was about to re-sign and then dead silence. And then that article come out 2 or 3 months ago. So it's a weird one.
It's bizarre. That's why I genuinely believe the Roosters are saying, like, just give us time. Give us time. We'll find that we're going to find somewhere in the cap to be able to squeeze you in. But the fact that it hasn't happened already, like, there must be, I mean, I can only assume there must be some players going like, no, like, or not that they aren't willing to leave, but no, the club is willing to pick up the tab.
Could they maybe now be just waiting to see what happens with Matt Lodge to see if it's a good fit, whether they...
Oh, but this was already happening before Lodge got
for sure, but I wonder if now, if maybe that is playing a role on it now.
Maybe. It's
Lodge
a bizarre
left
one.
the Warriors, 6 weeks ago now? Like the Chooks might have known since before then that they were going to have him.
It's just interesting because Crichton is placing so much trust in the Roosters because they could just turn around and go, sorry, mate, your contract's what your contract is. This is all we can afford. And then Crichton's left without a... So it's almost like... It's just a strange... I mean, fair play to Crichton. If the Roosters, and him come to a deal, then I love to see that. It shows trust between a player and a club that we do not see anymore. But the scary situation is if that could get broken.
Yeah. I think that, and we've spoken about it before on here, that the Roosters have done a lot for Angus as far as his charity and everything. So I think there would be a good trust there.
Yeah, for sure. But trust goes as far as the circumstances allows it to. There could be a world where they just can't move anyone on. And so the Roosters, although said they were going to, they can't. So they're not necessarily liars. They're just like, bro, we literally cannot. And then Crichton's sitting there going, I don't even have a club next year. I'm going to take under somewhere else. Again, this is worst case scenario. But I agree with you. I think that the Roosters, if they found out he was, wanting to sign somewhere else, he would be already gone. That's how ruthless the Roosters are. I mean, we've seen it so many times. So the Roosters are also really loyal as well. When they have a player that they feel they can trust, they're super, super loyal. Not trust, sorry. A player that is playing really good footy and they can get along with, they seem to be really, really loyal. So interesting times at the Roosters, but again, I would not want to be playing them week 1 of the finals because, as you said, when you watch them pull these plays off, you're going, that's a scary side. Like, how do you defend that?
Yeah. Have they maybe been waiting to see how Luke Keary returns from his injury? But
this has been going on for he was going to sign last year.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, Luke Keary did an ACL, the start of last year. He's always had the head knocks that have always been floating around as well. I don't know. It just seems so strange that it has taken this long. There must be a reason for it.
Yeah, for sure. I honestly don't know. I give Roosters a benefit of the doubt of simply they're just trying to manage their cap, rather than. Yeah, I don't know.
Because I could be, but didn't this happen last time as well? That he was years ago. There was rumours about him going to Union, and it took ages for the Roosters. Because I remember doing a similar thing years ago, having a post ready, and then it took forever for him to sort out that contract.
Yeah, interesting. Hopefully they can keep him because he's a victim of his own consistency. He doesn't get raps anymore, but he's always playing good footy. And when he has a quiet game, it's still a solid game by anyone's standard. Anything else about the Roosters, boys?
All good.
Yeah, no, all good.
Now, on to Storm versus the Titans. Obviously Munster at fullback was the big talking point. Interesting game because, the Titans were kind of in this, for a bit.
We just spoke for 15 minutes about what their team's going to look like this week. So week to week, I'm not sure what they're going to do. I think a lot of it depends on Hughesy over the next few weeks. But I thought Munster looked very dangerous. I thought Grant looked better. For the first time in a while, I thought guys that come in did a pretty good job, like Cooper Johns, like Young Tonamapela. All for the last few weeks, it feels like guys they brought in they haven't done poorly, but there hasn't been the way that replacements have come in for Melbourne for the last 10 years or so. I did, calling a spade, I thought the Titans their defence is just bang average. I thought Munster had a great game, and I'm the first guy to cheering the Munster fullback bandwagon. But like some of those tries that he scored, I don't know if he scores them against many sides.
Yeah.
I don't think he scores them against top 8 sides, realistically. So it's a bit of a hard one to gauge.
Yeah, what do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, I'm still no more convinced about the Storm because, like, if this was the Storm side playing in round 7 that was ruthless, they'd have won that 60-0, like, without doubt, because the Titans are so ordinary. And as you said, they were, to a degree in that game at stages. So, my opinion hasn't changed on them. Well, I should say I'm still unsure about them because I think they're still capable of making a run in the finals because you'd be a brave footy fan to write them off. But, said Cooper Johns come in. I threw out a bit of late mail, whatever day it was, about Munster going to fullback and Cooper Johns coming in the halves and people sitting there going like, Cooper Johns, surely not. Like, surely there's a better option. And he was really good. Yeah. So I think it was, 3 or 4 try assists and line assists. And so if he can come in and play a good role as a halves partner to Jerome Hughes and do that on a consistent basis, let's see him do it against good sides firstly.
Yeah.
But, that'll really shore up what's been a bit of a problematic spot for them in the sense that they can now move Cam Munster to fullback consistently, at least for this season while they're looking for a bit of X factor. Yeah, let's see him do it against a good side. And they've got Penrith this week, so we're about to find out if they're competitors or not.
I mean, they've just been decimated by injury. Like, seriously, 15 injuries, 15 long-term injuries this year. Nofoaluma was solid. Coates, poor bloke. Is he injured again? He went down. I think he hobble to his wing? He's at least going to be carrying some kind of injury if he keeps playing. So, look, their defence was a bit more solid, but it's very hard to get a gauge because obviously the Titans, like seriously, the Titans, every time they got even close to some good ball, they just drop it. Every time. It's just like, how?
And I think, mate, personally think next week we're going to be sitting there going, geez, they played the Panthers. They're going from playing, in my opinion, the worst team in the comp to the best team in the comp. Like, it's hard to sort of get a gauge on them over the next 2 weeks as well. I think they got Parramatta in the last round. So we're going to learn a lot about the Melbourne Storm. I think we're going to learn a lot about Craig Bellamy over the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. I'm not convinced yet. I'm still a bit concerned about the Storm. They just don't seem to have the same energy that they usually have. They're not as dominant in the ruck. Their line speed isn't the same. They're not, like, as you said, now I know they've got some players out, but like, they've still got Jesse Bromwich, Kenny Bromwich, Kofusi, Munster, Hughes, Cheese, Coates, Grant, Nofoaluma. You know what I mean? It's not, like, I know they've struggled with long-term injuries, but that's not a side, like, that's not a bad side compared to, like, I kind of feel like a less tired Storm, so a Storm from a few years ago with the same outs would still be ruthless as fuck.
Yep.
And I just think that that's just not as much there anymore. Like, for the first 20 minutes of the second half, they had 50% completion rate. 50% completion rate, a Storm side. Like, it just, I don't know. It's been a big few years for them. I just think it's finally starting to catch up. We have to remember they won a premiership all living in another state. Like, that's you can sit there all day and be like, oh, yeah, they were in a resort or whatever, but it's still not home. It's still not the family support. It's still not where you've put your roots and you've settled down. It's like saying, oh, I could go on holiday forever. How many of us have gone on holiday and by the end of it, like, I just want to get home. I just want to get home. And that's on a holiday. You're not even working. You're just enjoying your life.
You don't know how many beers I drink on a holiday. Be very tired.
And so, yeah, the Storm, look, good on them. They got a good, solid win. But it's just hard to measure against the Titans. And it's a bit unfair because it's like, well, what do you want them to bloody do? Like, they beat the team that's in front of them. What else can you ask of them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it is what it is. I don't think anyone would push back on.
Yeah, I think it's more just like we expect the Storm to be so good all the time.
I also think, like, for me, one of the biggest hallmarks of the Melbourne Storm over the last 20 years has been if you make a mistake, they'll make you pay. If your fullback is out of position by a couple of metres and they hit a 40-20, you can guarantee the Melbourne Storm are going to score in the next set. Now, I see teams knock on in their own half, or, there was a moment where Jerome Hughes kicked a 40-20 a couple of weeks ago and it was a big moment. They got all hyped up and I sort of sat there and went, maybe they'll score off this. I don't know anymore. They don't feel like they're going to drown you anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, really interesting times. Really, really interesting times for the Storm. as I said, I just got to say the way I feel, and I know people don't like hearing this as a Storm fan, but this year, I just don't know whether they can do it. I just don't know whether they can do it.
They feel like, to me at the moment, they're a team that their ceiling can be a prelim. They can maybe win a semi that's like their grand final and get to a prelim, but
Well, like, think about this, though, the great Garino. And you can think about this as long as you want, mate. You can think about it for 2 seconds. You can think about it for the rest of the day, bro. Last year, the run they were on, and they didn't even make a prelim. No,
They
sorry,
lost the prelim.
they lost the prelim.
Yep.
You know, with that fucking crazy run. And, like, look, we didn't see this kind of energy last year. And so you can take that guru and think about it if you want.
Noted. Thank you.
But you know what I mean?
I don't know if I've ever felt more uncomfortable. That was a lot.
That's what I'm here to do, baby.
I was going to say, going to throw it back to that little run they had early in the year where they were just scoring a ridiculous amount of points with not too dissimilar a team. I was like, well, look, they've done that already this year. If they can rediscover that, who knows what they can do. But I've just gone back and had a look at it. Look at the teams they put points on. They beat the Dogs at the time, who were very ordinary, 44-0. Beat the Raiders, who were very ordinary at the time, 30-16. Sharkies 34-18, solid enough.
But that was a relatively close game. It blew out a little bit. Yeah.
Yep. Then they beat the Warriors 70-10, and then the Knights 50-2, then the Dragons 42-6. Then they got belted by the Panthers. They then got belted by the Cowboys. Before that run, Parramatta dusted them up in Melbourne. So of that really good run they had, no team's gone on to do anything.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. And also I'll add in, like, Pappenhausen's so important to their points. Like, without Pappenhausen, they're nowhere near as dangerous. Like, he is so silky quick through the middle. They just lose so much pace around the ruck with Pappenhausen, that first 10 metres.
Yep.
So with him out, as soon as he went down, I was like, I just cannot see them. I'm happy to be proven wrong.
Yeah.
You know what? If we're sitting here in 6 weeks and they're killing it, I'll go, you know what? Storm have done it again.
I think it's fair to say that even without Pappy, it's been worse than what I expected, though. Like, I didn't... As soon as Pappy went down, I thought, okay, I don't think they can win a comp now. But I still probably thought they'd make top 4. Now, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if they do finish 6, 7, 8.
Well, I think the only thing stopping them not making the top 4 is Broncos' poor form. Like, if Broncos just kept playing good footy or solid footy, they'd probably make the 4 Storm drop out. Maybe.
Yeah, one other thing on it, sorry, mate. Just to touch on David Nofaluma. It's looking more and more like, I find it really hard to see him going back to the Tigers after this. If that is the end of his existence at the Tigers as their all-time leading try scorer, it'd be, whether it's what has happened internally, whether it's him or the club's fault or whatever, it'd be a really disappointing finish to his career not to get like a really good Tigers farewell at Leichhardt Oval. I think round 25 they might be the Raiders at Leichhardt Oval. It'd be really a shame to see it finish up on these terms.
Storm at Leichhardt or Raiders?
I think it's Raiders at Leichhardt round 25.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a super sad way for a club. You know, he's a club legend. He's a leading try scorer. You know,
Yeah.
I know it's just a short-ish history, but still, it's not a. He's got some fair names that have been through there. Yeah, that would be a sad. Just see you later, you know.
Surely it's done.
I can't see him going back. I can't see him going back.
He got interviewed on Triple M and he seemed he danced around the question heaps. The quote was, I asked him, will he go back to Tigers? And it was, I'm purely focused on putting my energy into Melbourne, not so much focused on the other stuff.
Yeah.
I think he's just waiting to see if someone will pick up a large portion of his contract. And then if they don't, he'll just go back then. But I don't think he's happy there. And I don't think the club's happy either, which is, you know, it may be publicly, I guess, a sad way to go. But if he gets paid his full contract and he's happy to leave, then that's a win for everyone else.
Problem is, though, his contract is till the end of 25.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think he's waiting for someone to pick it up. Like, you don't loan a player that's contracted till 2025. Like, he's an experienced gun. Like, you don't do that unless, you know, you both kind of are looking elsewhere. But yeah, look, the positives are Munster was outstanding. Harry Grant was really, really good. Just their completion, man. Holy moly. That second half, it was just like, couldn't believe it. I also think, like, are we also seeing a bit of the energy zapped out of the team because of the fact that both Bromwich brothers and Kofusi and Cheese are leaving? Is it a case of, you know, they're not, it's very hard to get up maybe, or?
Yeah, I sort of thought at the start of the year that it might have the opposite effect.
Galvanise them.
Yeah, but I mean, and without moving away from, like I said it a few times, the more I watch Melbourne's pack, the more I'm worried about the Dolphins. Like, it's pretty much that team you're watching.
Yeah, I think the fresh start might freshen them up a little bit. And I also think that, like, you know, there may be a few of the guys that wanted to re-sign at the Storm and the Storm have decided to move on from them. And so maybe there's a bit of, like, energy lost there. Very complicated situation, that's for sure.
I had a bit concerned too, Guru, with you for the Dolphins, just because, I mean, we've touched on it in previous weeks, but the two Bromwich boys, Kafusi, they're, I think, like, Jesse's 33. I think Kafusi and Kenny Bromwich, 30, 31. I sometimes think when I look at why Melbourne are battling, I think, is it just an ageing forward pack? Why they're getting dominated each week?
Could be.
Deep into a season.
Could be.
They're all going to the Dolphins another year older. I'm really concerned for the Dolphins next year.
In saying that, if you're going to have an ageing pack, you got the best coach ever for an ageing pack.
See, I just reckon that new fresh start will just freshen them up a little bit. New environment, it'll just peak their energies a bit. Whereas, fuck, it can get grindy, man. They've been at that club for like 10 to 15 years, like some of them.
But I mean, like we're seeing them at the moment in a bit of a rut, and they seem to be struggling to get out of it. I mean, respectfully, I think there's a really good chance that'll be the Dolphins' reality for 25
maybe.
weeks.
It's going to be interesting. Tell you what, Sean O'Sullivan's been bloody. Sean O'Sullivan, Jerry Marshall King. I honestly reckon Jerry Marshall King's going to make an impact on the comp next year. Like, that's how much he continues to improve.
I think he's made an impact on the comp this year, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I think that the wider fan, like as in the Bulldogs fans are loving him, but I think the wider fans are still a bit, you know, not convinced. But I think when he goes to the Dolphins with a new team, a new club, a refreshing start, I think people are going to start appreciating, like you've been appreciating him all year. We all have. But I just think that the wider fan might go, he's a genuine 9 now. Whereas I think, like, even at the start of this year, I was still like, is he even a 9? Like, good, solid player. The more I watch him now, I'm like, he's improving so much. His selection. Anyway, I don't know why the fuck I'm speaking about Jerry Marshall King. Fucking talk about Storm Titans.
I was about to ask you a question about Sean O'Sullivan, so should I say it? Or?
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it. So it's. I personally think, and Storm fans will probably feel a little bit different. This kind of negative vibe that we have at the moment with the Storm, even though it's, you know, not negative in a hate them way, it's negative. I think it's because it's a compliment. Think about how crazy it is that we're sitting going, a bit worried about the Storm. They're sitting 4th. No other team in the comp would we expect this. Like, even with the Penny Panthers, we would go, okay, they're having an off year. You know what I mean? It's just they're having an off year. The Melbourne Storm, we're sitting here going, ooh, and they're sitting 4th. So there has to be, I guess we've got to show some love to that fact, is that they are in the top 4. They had the most long-term injuries in the competition. Most of their forward pack is moving on next year. They deserve some raps for that.
I had a follower who sent me just a little 2-minute clip of a preseason podcast that we did, and one of the quotes that we both said was, Melbourne could have a shocking year and finish 4th.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is where they are.
That's why you're called the Guru, baby. That's why I'm called the Beak. Yeah, look, that's the funny thing. Is like sometimes people think we just say shit to say shit. Like, we think about it. Like, I'm not just fucking throwing it out there.
We think about it occasionally.
Occasionally, and pretty much all fucking day. So yeah, I guess we got to pay a bit of respect to the fact that this club is still 4th. It's still 4th. Like that's how incredible they are as an organisation. Like, imagine this. Imagine that they have all these players moving. And we have to remember they lost Dale Finucane, they lost Nico Hines, they've lost Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, they've lost, who was the other bench? They've now lost Cheese. They've lost almost, nearly 10 players in the last 24 months?
Yep.
And then you could go back another year, they lost Cameron Smith. So let's imagine a world where they're rebuilding, quotation marks, and the worst they finish is 4th. You know what I mean? That's pretty fucking incredible.
It will be interesting, though. Like, if they lose to Penrith this week, the two teams below them are South Sydney and Parramatta. They're playing each other. So one of them has to go up. If your Broncos beat the Newcastle Knights, all of a sudden that Melbourne Storm team is going to be 7th.
Wow.
And then it is a different conversation. And then if the Roosters happen to beat the Cowboys, all of a sudden they're only 1 win behind Melbourne.
Fuck.
So like it can get interesting. Like they're in fourth now, which is fantastic. It's a good knock, all things considered. It's been a shit fight,
but it could get bad.
It can turn very
Well,
quickly.
you know what? It's similar to the Broncos in the sense that like you can go from all these injuries and you still came fourth, incredible, to holy shit, the Storm just finished the worst they've finished in like fucking.
Well,
ever.
if we're sitting here next week and they're in seventh, which is quite possible, we'll be going, ooh.
Yeah, interesting.
Also, Roosters Cowboys, yes, please.
I fucking
That's
know,
going to be a crack.
mate. I reckon
Day
Roosters,
game at the SCG.
Oh, I reckon Roosters are a bit of smoky there. I mean, I reckon I might even back the Roosters there.
Firm favourites at the moment.
Are they?
$1.74.
Are they really?
Cows $2.10.
Like Cowboys, that scoreline yesterday against the Dogs does not reflect the game. That was a tight contest that the Bulldogs almost, if they just had iced a few more opportunities when they had the ascendancy. Wow. But as it stands right now, I think the Storm deserve a massive credit for the standards we all have from them. These are just another 17 blokes, but because they wear that purple jersey, we have way higher standards for them than we do with anyone else in the competition.
And exactly right. And, as I just said, it'd be so easy for them to finish just to seventh place. They've won one less game than the Cronulla Sharks this year, who will praise till the cows come home.
Yeah. And what, 2 less games than Cowboys?
Yeah.
And we're talking about, wow, Todd Payton, Coach of the Year, and we're going, fuck, Storm. So, I just wanted to acknowledge that to Storm fans, because I think it is, it's a good problem to have as a Storm fan. Like, fuck, you're too good. But it is worth acknowledging. Now, onto the Titans. Oh, no. Jeez. Disaster. Fuck. Oh, shit. So, about 10 minutes before half time, Tino gets taken off and they show the VB hard earned index and it's just purple. Just purple. There's no Titans players except for one bloke at the top and it's Tino. And you're going, this bloke deserves a fucking medal.
The least surprising thing of the weekend.
Yeah. But then you sit back and you go, why isn't anyone going with this bloke? Why isn't he just him? How come, he's not, yes, he is an incredible athlete, but there's got to be someone going with him. Surely there could have been at least a Titans player at fourth or something. I don't get, they just don't seem to be all on the same page going in the same direction sometimes.
And as you said, the rest of it was purple. We just spoke about how all the guys in purple are kind of underachieving at the moment.
And they're an aging pack.
They're an aging pack, and there was just, I don't know. It's hard to put you, surely they must sit back and watch tape and see what Tino is doing every single game and look around the room and go, fuck. It just seems, I don't know.
They just don't have that same energy that he, I'd never watch a Titans, I don't usually watch a Titans, there's never been, most of the time I'm watching a Titans game, that I just don't feel there's much aggression. There's aggression, obviously, they're playing rugby league, NRL standard, but when you compare it to the top tier teams, they just don't seem to have that same venom that, say, a Tino does or the top tier teams. And I just wonder, are they just expecting to score more points than the opposition? That's the way they do it rather than defending.
Mate, I reckon the only other player that does go with him, I reckon, is probably Beau Fermor. But out on an edge and at 100 kilo, 95, 100 kilos, there's only so much he can do. You have got these, you've got Fafita, you've got Mo. These guys have all played Origin.
I thought Mo had some decent touches on the weekend. I thought he was a bit aggressive every now and then, but.
Herman SA scored on the weekend. I don't know how he hasn't kicked on at this point.
He was a gun coming through.
Mate, every single club he goes to, I'm like, okay, this will be the time. This will be the club that it happens at. It just doesn't, Isaac Leo still got him on the bench,
Leo, I think, probably hasn't kicked on the way we thought a premiership winning front row would at that club, unfortunately.
Yeah. But I also think that he's exactly who he tells you he is. He's not a barnstorming, tackle breaking. He just gets through work. That was his role at the Roosters too.
Yeah, but he has some crucial errors at times, and
fair.
he's a premiership winning front rower brought to the club. You want him to have impact at least, surely.
Yeah.
And again, it hasn't been terrible at all. But I just mean if you sign, I'm assuming they sign him on a pretty good wicket. Not crazy, but signed, he was one of their biggest signings. I just don't know whether he has impacted the way they maybe have hoped. What do you reckon, Timmy, about the Titans?
Yeah, it's a real shame to see them at the moment because this time last year, they were coming home with a wet sail and scoring a stack of points. And they're a really enjoyable side to watch. This year, I'm really really just not enjoying watching them play footy just due to the lack of quality. And it's, you call a spade because it is what it is, isn't it? Like and if people are ever sitting there watching, say, an outside pack and going and they're barnstorming in attack and they keep getting dropped, can't make the side, 99% of the time the reason is that they can't defend. And poor old Greg Marju, as good as he is in attack, some of his defensive decisions every week are just unexplainable. There was the one that really stood out to me on the weekend was the Xavier Coates try where Harry Grant was a dummy half and Grant shifted one went whack to the right corner to Coach who just dove over the line, and people saying, how good's that from Harry Grant? Marzu just went in on his own line to the ruck, but he just wasn't needed. And Coach and Grant have just gone, righto, thank you. Yeah. It was so poor.
Harry Grant stood there and had his right arm out and was waving it like that. like
as he ran over, he went like that.
Yeah, he went like that. It was it reminded me of that try that Hodges set up years ago when he threw it between his legs. He just gave a little wave. But I just don't know what he was doing last year.
It's like you can go out there and run for 250 metres and break 12 tackles and score a try. But as far as I'm concerned, if you then let in a try like that to go with the mad try, you score, well, you're square for the day because for everyone you score, you should be saving. It's like a save try is as good as a try scored, effectively. Yeah,
it's a tough one because if he can sort that defence, he genuinely, in my opinion, could be a top tier
for sure.
Unbelievable in attack.
Incredible,
unreal.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. And look, to be fair, is this his first year of first grade? Essentially. Well, I know he's not.
He got enough games last year as well. He wasn't picked at Parramatta. Spent a lot of time. I think he was playing with Wentworthville in New South Wales Cup and couldn't crack the Eels side. And people were looking at his stats in New South Wales Cup, going, "How is he not getting picked?" That's why.
He would have played 100 reserve grade games. He's been around for a bit. I would have hoped by this point he was probably a bit more consistent than what he is.
I mean, it's easy for me to say, but if I was a coach, I would take that as a real challenge of I've got this diamond just sitting there. And my preseason with him would just be defense, just defensive decisions, just talking to him. Because these are the kind of guys that if you can just click that one thing, that defense, he becomes a genuine weapon. Arguably the best ball running winger in the comp. If not the best, he's at least in the top tier. When he runs the ball, he's unstoppable. He's such a nightmare to tackle. So, yeah, I agree, especially with that dummy half one. It's just a focus thing, and not in a negative way. He may be too focused in on the ball. So he's just thinking, I've got to get close to the play the ball here, just in case Harry Grant tries to dive over, instead of just taking that extra second to go, oh, actually, I'll get my winger where my winger is. And if Harry Grant dives over, that's not my... Because the problem is that, let's say he does stand out in the wing. There would have been about a metre gap between him and the marker. Let's say Harry Grant gets out, dives over. People would have been like, why the fuck are you standing all the way out there when the ball's there? So
they had numbers, though, in defence.
Oh, for sure.
But I know what you're saying, though. Yeah.
People would have blamed him. Because if he had have come out and just dove over in that space. So, I get it. Definitely, he should have been worried about his winger. And I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying, that's probably what his thought process was the ruck's there, we need to be tight. And instead of just taking that little extra step and going, actually, I'm going to be a bit further out because... I'm just going to have to trust my man to get that, to tackle that. But yeah, there's a diamond there. There really is. I just think just get some, and maybe he has. Maybe he hasn't have tried forever. I met Greggy State of Origin 3. He did some NRL TikTok. We just did some interviews and that with him and some funny stuff. Really, really nice guy. Really nice guy. So if they could just clean up that defensive read bit, far out, he could be a beast.
There's a fair whack of diamonds there that if they can clean...
Yeah,
could be a good footy side. We've said it all year that the centres, Sami and Kelly, both so talented, but they've both just got little things in their game they've got to sort out. Fafita's obviously another one that you could probably put in that category.
You've got to get him in the front row, surely. I know it sounded crazy at the time, but are you coming around or what?
Did we push back on you that? I don't think it sounded that crazy.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I don't remember.
Maybe it was the other voice in my head that was pushing back against it.
I was against it initially, and then we spoke about it for about half an hour, and by the end of the conversation,
So
I came.
drilled into you.
Yeah, by the end of the convo, you turned me around and said, "You know what? It could work."
Because you just wanted to move on from the combo.
Because I needed to get home.
Yeah, all jokes aside, though, I think you just get him in there. It's too, like, we've tried it. Whether you want to blame the ball players or you want to say it's his fault or whatever, I think you just give him a real fair crack and you just say, mate,
Whoever's fault it is,
Yeah.
just simplify it.
just get him in the middle.
Yeah.
Say, bro, I just want you to go as hard as you can. Every time you want the ball, you get it.
Yeah.
Every time. One off the ruck, whatever you want. Get him involved in the game.
Push the dummy half over, do whatever.
Whatever you want. We just want you to get the ball in hand. And I just think that would release him. You know, that would just get him in a mode where, you know what, I don't have to worry about anyone else or keeping my width to make sure that other people can. We just get in there, rip and tear.
It'll be interesting to see what they do now with Aaron Booth out.
Oh,
I thought about you boys as soon as I saw that with Clarkey. Do they have to put him back to hooker? Like, I don't know how many options they've got.
Seriously.
They're Tana Boyd. It'd nearly have to be. There might be hooker down there somewhere, but.
Mate, you'd almost get him there on crutches. Get him in the crutches, fucking getting past the ball. Honestly, the one player they couldn't lose was that 9 because they have looked better with him at 9. Honestly, I put Tanner Boyd there and put Clark at 13.
Toby Sexton back in.
Pull Sexton back in. The season's over. Get some reps in Sexton. Tanner Boyd needs to stay. I know he's been really good at 6. I think he's been really good at 6. I mean, he was at 7, the weekend. But I just reckon you put Tanner Boyd there. You keep Clark at 13. I also think Tino being in the front row has actually improved his game a bit as well. Yep. I think he's a front rower. Yeah. What do you reckon, Guru?
Yeah, I agree. I would definitely have Tino up there. I just hope they don't move Aaron Clark back to 9. That's just all that I'm hoping.
He's great at 13.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I prefer Tanner to be playing in the halves, the reality is with Foz arriving next year, he's not going to be in the halves. It's obviously going to be Sexton in there. You got to still find a spot for Brimson. I just think Tanner's not going to have a spot, so just play him at hooker.
Do you think though that with Tanner getting selected at 7, there's a genuine possibility where Titans think, you know what, Tanner might be the guy that we go forward with?
The Titans could be thinking one of many things. I've got no idea.
Because he's still young.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't want to, in my opinion, when you're making decisions, you don't want to lock yourself into a decision just because you made that decision 6 months ago, you know? You don't want to just go, oh, well, I made it 6 months ago, I'm locked into it. I mean, that's how we got to this problem.
That's exactly what's the problem.
Yeah, it's like, time. And so yes. I wonder, you know, if I'm Titans, I wouldn't rule out the possibility. Maybe Tanner Boyd can leapfrog. I'm not saying he will, but maybe he can. If he's the best man for the job.
I personally think they'll stick with Toby Sexton, though. I think Tanner either turns himself into a full-time 9 or maybe goes to another club.
Brimo, once again, plays really well. He's just like, even when they're playing poorly, he continues to deliver. He's the kind of guy where it's like, if they continue down this track, is it worth him being there? He can go to another club and absolutely kill it because he's killing it in a team that's struggling. 2 try assists, 136 metres, a tackle break, a line break assist, 16 tackles, 123 kick metres. So, yeah, it's just getting to that point because their roster is quite good that they need to be worried about losing guys like Brimo. And even, I know Tino's a captain, he just re-signed, but long term, you just can't. If you want to chase greatness, unfortunately, you can't stay at the clubs that are struggling. And it's unfair for the clubs that are struggling because that's how they keep struggling. But at the end of the day, like, would anyone, let's say they had another year like this, would anyone begrudge Tino or Brimo from going, you know what, I can't waste any more years doing this? Like,
so, if I was a Titans fan, I'd also be nervous that Kieran Foran's meant to be a Titan in a month. It's the first time he's been injured all year this weekend. So. Seriously,
so unlucky. So hopefully they can turn around. I like the Titans. I think they've got a great playing roster. I really do. Like, I know some people say they don't have the roster. I disagree. I really think that if they just had an experienced 7, they would be sweet. I really, really do.
Especially with like the brand of footy they play and, you know, the ground that they play at. They normally play 2 p.m, 3 p.m. Like, they're normally playing on a dry track where they can play expansive footy. That's what they like to play.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced they got the roster.
Really?
Yeah. And even like if you go through the starting 13, look, there's some talent there, but there's a lot of potential there. Jaden Campbell could be this. Tanner Boyd could be this. Aaron Booth could be this, David Feeder, same thing. A lot of them. But you look past that and you just look at the depth in the squad. A successful NRL squad, I was going to say the current day, in any day, you have to have depth. You go down to their bench and there's not a lot of whack coming off the bench that are going to strike fear into the hearts of opposition between SCSA, Liu, Joel from McIntyre. Throw in a couple more injuries. More players have to come up. It's like, well, I'm just really not convinced that there's a great roster there.
Is this pretty like that's pretty much their best forward pack, right? Like, are they missing? Is there anyone else that we're forgetting?
I think Jared Wallace is in reserve grade.
Jared Wallace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Is he playing reserve grade at the moment?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
He was suspended for a couple of weeks, but I thought he was meant to be back this week, as in round 21, so maybe he was.
And so he's not going to be there next year
And
anyway.
he was already
so-
a bit on the
yeah,
outer as well.
It's pretty, I think that's pretty well it.
Look, I personally think they have the roster to be in the top 8. Not to win a premiership or anything like that, but I don't think their roster is as bad as some people make out.
Wallace hasn't played reserve grade for a while, so...
Okay, so he's just been injured then?
Must just be injured.
He had a 2-week suspension, but I thought it ended in round 21.
When did he play reserve grade?
Round 7, a long time ago. Round 1 and round 7.
So how many first grade games has he played this year?
Let me look.
Because I got the feeling that he was on the outer. He's on a relatively big wicket and he's signed with the Dolphins next year.
He went through a pretty good period where he scored like 4 tries in 5 weeks or something.
Yeah, that's
sort
interesting.
of.
Because they miss him. I think he'd be good.
he was suspended round 18, 19, so he's been available.
Yeah, he's played 11 games this year.
So
First grade.
Okay. So you're saying he has been available?
Yeah, suspended round 18 and 19 for a dangerous throw.
So he was available this
That
week?
was when he was sent off, wasn't it? Was that right? Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, based on that, that's NRL.com. He's been available for selection.
Yeah, interesting. Because I actually think they could use him. Maybe he's injured or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
Speaking of injuries, I don't know if you mentioned Foran before, but the early mail is he's going to play this week.
Wow, it's good.
He looked devastated. Maybe he's just filthy at the loss because it was probably end of the.
It is a
looked
hammy
like a
though, so
face
I don't know how true it is.
It is
but
what?
It is a hamstring. Like a hamstring injury is pretty tough.
I don't
to come
know
back
why
from.
they'd be rushing. I mean, in saying that, Manly are just dying to make the 8, so maybe that's.
Jeez, if you're the Titans, surely you make a phone call.
Yeah,
though,
go on, boys, please, seriously.
For the love of God.
And they're playing the Titans too.
Oh, no.
Oh, they're probably sending him out intentionally and go, we want you to suffer. Does his hammy literally in front
Imagine if
of
he
him.
does his hammy in front of the Gold Coast Titans.
Man, I remember this. I had like a twinge in a game. Anyway, that week coming back to played really well, but that week coming back, as in I was playing Queensland Cup. So this is when I had retired and the Broncos had called me back literally mid off season, and so would you like to come back and play footy? And I was like, well, I'm doing nothing else, so may as well. Went back. Played for Redcliffe, I think, in the first trial. Played really well. And I actually played in the NRL trials and played really well too. But in the week leading up to the next game, round 2, I was like, oh, I don't know. To the trainer, I was like, I just don't know. I'm not sure whether it's right or not. It feels a bit off. And anyway, I got pulled aside by the head trainer, basically going, mate, almost like you need to toughen up. And so I was like, fuck. I was like, all right. Warm up. For the Dolphins, in the warm-up, boom, hammy, fully fucking gone, out for 4 weeks. Happens all the time. I'm telling you, because it's a hard balance because you need people pushing you because it's rugby league. You're going to constantly be playing injured. So it's very hard balance where is he, just being a bit soft or whatever, or do we need to push him and rah. So, but yeah, he was kind of pulled me aside after I did the fitness test and was like, mate, no, you just need to your just energy needs to be up and just all that kind of carry on. Played, warmed up, boom, hammy gone. First, I think it was the first time I'd ever done a real big hammy. And so when I look at Kieran Foran, I'm like, if you're twinging at the end of the game, and it's a similar situation with happened to me, it was the end of the game, it was a long chase, just a little twinge. It's a high chance that he'll come out and it'll go, go. 4 to 6 weeks, boom. So I think that'd be, if he did twinge his hammy, I think that'd be crazy to play him. Anyway, on to the next game. Manly versus the Eels. Look, let's talk about our boy Arthur. I think that, I think a lot of Eels fans will be sitting there going, you know what, I'm kind of grateful that he got some time. I'm kind of grateful that he got some NRL footy because his 2 try assists were when the game was on the line and they were behind. And in my opinion, if he doesn't have those earlier games to get him acclimated to NRL footy, he probably doesn't have the confidence to throw those balls. So I just want to give a massive rap to Jake Arthur for having the guts in those big moments to make the big plays. And also, Brad Arthur deserves a rap for picking the correct person. You know, everyone kept saying it's because he's his son, it's because he's his son. Well, clearly it's not. Clearly it was part of a plan, and that plan has worked. Mitchell Moses is out. They need a guy that's got experience, and Jacob Arthur stepped up to the plate on the weekend. Thoughts, Guru?
I thought it was great to see. I thought his ball to, was it Wonga Blake?
Wonga Blake,
Right.
incredible.
Yeah.
Over Saab's head. Intentionally thrown so high, knowing that Saab's about 7,000 foot tall.
So much risk on that play. For a guy that's been booed constantly, and you know if you throw an intercept to Saab, you're standing behind the sticks 4 seconds later.
If you got booed for doing nothing, imagine you would have got booed for fucking losing the
at
game.
Brookvale Oval.
Oh.
Yeah, so credit to him. I thought he was fantastic. I thought his kicking game was really good as well. I think he put on a try. Was it Gutho that he kicked for? I can't remember who it was off the top of my head.
I think it was Gutho.
Yeah, anyway, it was a perfect kick that he put in. So credit to, I know, Dylan Brown and Gutho were the stars of the show, but I just thought Jacob Arthur, he had every reason to completely shit the bed then under all the pressure in the world and just go into his shell. He did the opposite. He came out to go to Brookvale Oval as a halfback.
Tough
It doesn't
gig.
get much tougher than that.
Rookie, heavy track, tough away trip.
And you've got
for
the
sure.
opposition booing you, and then your own fans are fucking booing you as well. To stand up and do that, a great knock. So well done to him.
Timmy, what do you think about the Eels?
Yeah, it's a really perplexing one with Arthur. Like it's almost as though Brad Arthur had been picking him because he's good at footy and not because he's responsible for his existence on the earth. I was so happy to see him after getting booed come out and kill it. He said at important times, as Guru said, in the cauldron of Brookvale Oval, wonderful to see him step up. Really good sign going forward for Parramatta that they can do it if they lose either of Brown or Mitch Moses. And look, it's only 1 week, but he stepped out under immense pressure and was really good, Jake Arthur, because they've got probably the best depth in the comp across a lot of positions, Para. The halves, there was a question mark around if one of them went down. So really good there. And then on their left edge, we've sort of, you talk about the best edges in the NRL and best attacking edges in particular, and you think of the Bunnies left edge, the Panthers left edge. Tell you what, the Eels left edge now with Brown, Lane, Sevo, they're just looking exceptional, aren't they?
Yeah, Dylan Brown, so good.
Yeah.
Just the way he digs into the line, and he's just such a threat because you have to stay on him because he's big, strong, and fast. Actually, I saw the clip of your brother. He picked it before the game.
He's a freak, mate.
So just recount what your brother said before the game.
He's like very good, Sam, at reading defensive lines. And his one on Sevo was that, like we have been here, he's been very critical of Manly's right edge for starters, between Ches and a few other defensive issues. His big thing was that when teams are playing against Manly, because Foran is one of the best defensive halves in the comp, DC has his issues. Teams are always going to attack DC's edge. So it opens up there. And basically just the amount of space that... You mentioned that Dylan Brown, how well he squares up and just draws in defenders, but he put emphasis on how quick Gutho is moving in the back line and his ability just to catch and pass at speed. He gets his line right every single time. So Sevo, not only is he getting the space there, but then, your fullback will come across who might tackle 9 out of 10 wingers in the comp. Try stopping Sevo one-on-one. So he ended up, had a double within 8 minutes of that game.
And your brother, Sam Williams, obviously of Canberra Raiders fame, he picked a double, didn't he?
Yeah, he said, I think it was on our punting podcast, and his lock of the week was Sevo to score. And then just after, he was like, you know what, and probably to score double tries. And the week prior, we just laughed at him, but his lock of the week was Brent Naden to score. That was the Tigers against the Broncos. Tigers were paying about $6. Broncos massive favourites at Suncorp. And his reasons there were just speaking about, which I'd never even considered. He said, look, I think Adam Reynolds is one of the best halves in the competition, been one of the best signings in history for the Broncos, how good he's been for him this year. And he was just saying how tight Adam Reynolds defends to his edge back rower. And as a result of that, teams score a lot of tries down his edge, out wide, like the winger in particular.
Space, yeah.
So he said there was no knock on him physically as defending, not even like his defensive style, but the space is created for the winger.
Yeah.
Naden scored within 12 minutes.
Far out. And so that's go to SC Playbook 1. That's your Instagram. And the podcast that where Sam Williams does all the breakdown of that. What's that called?
Yeah, the half-backed podcast. So it's we look at punting plays and a few other things, but basically I've just wanted to get Sam's footy mind out there, and now that he's not affiliated with an NRL club, it's been a little bit hard to do, particularly from a punting perspective, but I just wanted to get his footy mind out there and share that to people because he's a genius, mate. Like he knows his footy so well. And
mate, if he ever wants to come on this genius podcast, he's more than welcome.
If you start listening to him, I'll be out, he'll be in. And you know what?
That'll be 4 geniuses on this podcast. Not you, Matty. You're not a genius, bro. Yeah, mate. The Eels. Look, as I've said all year, and I cop flack for it, I still think they've got it. And I think they're a scary team to play, and I think that they could go on a run where they win 4 games in a row. I really, really do. Guys, can I get you in the corner yet or not? He's on the side or no? Am I still crazy?
I'm not going to waste your time.
I was having a think about like who could potentially play Penrith in the grand final. I still think Penrith are that far ahead of anyone. They showed it on the weekend without their halves. I just found it so hard trying to split literally team 2 to team 8. So I can't put a line through anyone because I can't confidently say this is the team that'll play Penrith in the grand final. So for sure, why not, Para?
But you're not going, Guri?
No, I don't think they can win a comp this year. I don't think they'll make it to the grand final.
Okay.
That's just,
Okay.
Happy to be proven wrong. More than happy. I want to see
Could you imagine
Brad
Eels in the
Arthur be
grand final?
successful. He deserves it.
Eels in the grand finals.
Against Penrith?
Against Penrith.
Be the
It'd be
best.
one of the
Yep.
biggest grand finals. Outside of Roosters versus Rabbitohs. Matter of fact, it might actually be bigger because of the population. As we worked out on Wednesday's podcast, it's 2 million in Penrith. It's 2 million in the Greater Western Sydney. Like on Wednesday podcast, I was like, isn't there like 2 million people in Penrith? But what I meant was it was in Greater Western Sydney. I think it's the biggest area, like densely
I'm
populated
sure the
area.
boys would have let you get away with that.
No, no one fucking got it right. We had to Google it, and it was fucking 200,000. Mate, a Western Sydney grand final is exactly what this game needs. It is exactly what rugby league needs, and that's coming from a Broncos fan. It's exactly like the Queensland grand final. We needed that as a game. That Queensland, North Queensland versus Broncos. Whether you hated those teams, love those teams. That ending. The call from Ray Warren about JT going into immortality, like we needed that as rugby league. And I think just as much with Penrith Panthers and Western Sydney, it's almost Penrith Panthers have like revitalised Western Sydney. There's so much energy out there now. Panthers versus Para in a grand final. Oh my God. It'd be so hectic. The only other thing I could think of is like maybe Doggies and Para in a grand final, but I just think Penrith Para.
We need Penrith Para in the first prelim and South Roosters in the second prelim. That's what we need.
South Roosters grand final.
I remember Doggies and Eels in 09 when Hayne went on that freakish run of form, that famous Parramatta run to the finals, and the prelim final, I think it was at ANZ Stadium, and it was just chock-a-block full of people. The atmosphere, I wasn't at the game, but even just watching on television was like nothing I'd ever seen before. You know, you then go and do Parramatta versus Penrith in a grand final. Could you imagine?
Oh,
I was at that game, Timmy. That was one of the craziest crowds I've ever been a part of rugby league wise. There was 80,000 there, and they split the crowd in half. So half was yellow, half was blue. It was outstanding.
Far out. Could you imagine Penny Panthers versus Para? Far out. And like, and look, I know this sucks for Storm fans. It's looking like most likely they, probably won't make the finals. Again, happy to be proven wrong. So there's a real possibility. Like, because who else? It's an open race. You got Cowboys, you got Sharks. I wouldn't say Cowboys and Sharks are that far ahead of the Eels in chances to get into a grand final. Like, I really don't. Could
be anyone.
It's almost at the point where you wouldn't mind finishing 4th and playing Penrith. Because then at least you avoid them until the grand final.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Great call.
That's why Broncos need to get 4th.
Like, you've got one free throw at the stumps
And
to
also,
try some shit and
it's
try and beat them.
Cleary's first game back too.
Yes.
So
it's not a bad spot to end up.
Yeah. 4th is actually what you want.
You have to go to blue bet. It's going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
You don't like. That's what South Sydney did last year. They beat them
Ambushed
week
them.
1, then they put them on the other side, and they didn't have to see them again until it didn't work out. Obviously, as Matty can tell us, but it's still not a bad spot to end up.
What a sliding doors moment, that intercept. What a sliding doors moment. And I'm not trying to be a dick, bro. I'm just saying. Like, you're talking to a ex-Bronco. We got fucked by fucking Felt in the corner. Jesus. Moment of silence, please. Anyway, just remember, guys, Dad Drop. The Dad Drop is dropping. The pre-sale is dropping Wednesday, 6 p.m. We got Cool Dad shirt, we got the Best Dad shirt, and we got Grumpy Dad shirt. Basically, you spend $120. You get your choice of a shirt. You get a Bloke cooler bag, which we haven't released yet. They've never been released before. It's just behind me. If you go to YouTube, you can see it just behind me. Actually, I'll get it up so you can see it, boys. Here it is. Bloke cooler bag. Boom, right there. Then you also get a 6-pack of your choice, so you can choose lager or midi, and you get a stubby cooler that has Dad written on it. That is Wednesday, 6 p.m, going live. Be there. You know, if you've got a dad, or even if you are a dad, tell the missus, tell the kids, or buy for yourself. Hey, spoil yourself, mate. Bloody hell. You go to work all week, you're bloody ripping and tearing all week with your bloody family, mate. Bloody spoil yourself, mate. Even though you probably spoil yourself every weekend with 1,000 beers, just spoil yourself with a Bloke pack. Also, the shirts will be sold separately, $49.95 each. That's Wednesday, 6 p.m. Also, Bloke beer. It's the best beer in all the land. Bloke middies. Head to our website. You go to the store locator. You can actually tick the midi box, put in your postcode. It will show you the nearest stockist of the midi and OG Bloke. So the Bloke lager, smooth, easy drinking beer that tastes like real beer. Beer for bloke to turn up for their family, mates, and good times. The OG Bloke is in every single Bottle-O and Celebrations, Porter's Liquor, and IGA Plus Liquor in New South Wales and ACT. Even had a few people message me on the weekend, said, I went to my local IGA Plus Liquor thinking, there's no way they stock it. And boom, they stocked it. So if you've got a Bottle-O, a Celebrations, a Porter's Liquor, or IGA Plus Liquor near you in New South Wales and ACT, they will stock Bloke. Also, we're in every single Celebration Superstore in Queensland. Go to blokeinabar.com. We've got hundreds of other stores. We're in hundreds of stores all across Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, ACT. Go to blokeinabar.com. Check out our store locator. Everything's going to be based around blokeinabar.com and bloke.shop. So if you want merch, the store locator, head over to the website now. You can also join the Bloke Club. Go to bloke.club, you join up, you get text when everything's dropping. We're also going to be starting to do like discounts, all that good stuff. So join the Bloke Club. But let's get back to the footy. Now onto the Manly Sea Eagles. What's going on? Is there a big news drop?
Nah, just Batuta doing some of their best work.
What was it? What's
Usual.
the article?
I don't know what I'm allowed to read out and not. So.
Okay. Batuta wrote, and Batuta is a satirical. Nation's weak-gutted dog kids warned to get their act together or Ricky Stewart will light them up in a live press conference one day. Oh, fuck. Batuta is all time.
The Raiders just released actually a statement around Stewart and all that, and it was very political and well said, saying they don't condone his words and they're happy with whatever the NRL do hand down punishment-wise, so that didn't do much way.
They would already be in discussions with the NRL.
Yeah.
I think they'd already get a feel for it. And also, I think the NRL would already be telling him, mate, you need to say this, you need to do this. Because
Stewart had his meeting with the NRL this morning, so I feel like it might come out today.
Yeah, it's just an unfortunate situation. And again, some people that are sitting there going, oh, mate, he just said how he felt. Just imagine if that was your brother, your son, your sister, whoever got spoken about like that, you'd be devastated. I know I'd be fuming if anyone did that. Especially, anyway. Now, on to Manly, boys. Look, probably one of their poorer games in a while, to be honest. I've been a bit of a fan of the way Manly have, really circled the wagons after the loss of Tom Trbojevic. I think a lot of us may have thought Tom Trbojevic gone, they are out. But this was one of their more disappointing games, in my opinion. They just didn't seem to have the same, energy as they've had in recent weeks. Timmy, what did you think about the Manly Sea Eagles?
I was just disappointed with Manly who have forged this reputation under Desi Hasler as just this gritty side who, get up against adversity. And for the first half, to a degree, they did. It really disappointed me that they conceded 4 unanswered tries in that second half. I thought, when it was sort of neck and neck going into the half and whatnot, that at Brookie Oval, they were going to go, you know what, tumultuous week, here we go, let's dig in this second half and get a win, a really important win. And it went the opposite way. And credit to Parramatta, they're the side that did lift, and Manly didn't. So I was disappointed in that regard.
For sure. Just quickly, we've got some, not breaking news, but some sad news. Melbourne Storm have tweeted, everyone at Melbourne Storm is saddened to hear of the passing of Felice Kofusi, father, Taniela, on Saturday morning. Felice will miss Thursday match against the Panthers to be with his family. Our thoughts are with Kofusi family during this time. Absolutely, thoughts are with Kofusi. Very, very sad for him. Definitely sending out all the thoughts and I guess just hoping Felice and the family are okay. Very, very sad times. Very sad times. What did you think about Manly, Guru?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what to expect. Obviously, coming off last week when the seven boys came back into this side, I had no idea. Between Parramatta being one of the more inconsistent sides in this comp and Manly coming off the week they did, I had no idea what to expect. But I think you sort of touched on it. With Des, I sort of expect siege mentality, gather all the boys together, get them up for it, and kind of got the opposite. They had little flashes in this game and they looked decent, but I don't know. I always sort of thought Parramatta were on the front foot essentially.
Yeah. 88% completion rate for Para.
Ooh.
Very hard to beat a Para side that's completing that. And that's like the top tier sides like that. All you need to do is complete high and you're gonna be tough to beat. With Manly, I still think they've had a pretty solid year, but this basically puts them out of finals contention, I think. What's the ladder there, Matty or Guru? Get that up for us, please. Don't have my iPad. It's a tough one because you don't want to sit here and go, they've been solid without their fullback. You know what I mean? It's almost, that's low expectations for a club that would be saying we should win a premiership. There's plenty of clubs that have lost their main guys and gone on to, have a real crack.
Yeah, they're two wins behind the Chooks as it stands right now. Assuming Manly knock over the Titans this week. If they do, that'll put them one win behind if Roosters lose to the Cowboys. But then the Roosters have got the Tigers at the SCG the week after. The other thing is Manly's for and against is -8. The Roosters is plus 107.
Manly do go Titans, Sharks. Sharks is at Manly. Raiders, Bulldogs. So they're 4 very, very winnable games. So I wouldn't put a line through them just yet, but the for and against will not going to help. But
I think that Manly Raiders game in 3 weeks is going to be critical.
Yep.
Super critical.
Well, whoever loses that out of the Raiders and Manly are done.
Yeah.
But they basically need Roosters to drop 2 of the 4 games minimum. Actually
really
3.
tough draw.
Well, 3 because they've got to get in front of them on for and against.
Yeah. So basically they need Roosters to lose 3 of 4, which I cannot see happening.
Sorry, mate.
No. Well, you're
I'll say
they
face the Cowboys, Storm, and Bunnies. So all tough, quite tough. Tigers as well, but could happen.
Yeah, look, I mean, it'll be devastating if Roosters were to lose 3 or 4. Fuck. Interesting.
And the Roosters play the next 2 weeks is at the SCG. Then they go to Amy Park to play Melbourne, and then they play at their new ground versus South Sydney. So
what a game that's going to be.
Blockbuster.
That's going to be an incredible game.
have you already got tickets?
Yeah, the minute they went on sale, I jumped on. Can't
Far
wait.
out. I've seen a little bit of the stadium. Looks hectic.
Yeah.
Far out. New stadium. And it's built like the good stadiums, like close to the ground?
Yeah.
Not fucking 2 Ks away. We got binoculars on to watch the footy. So like Manly, I thought Jason Saab, outside of his tackle that he got put on report for him, I thought he was actually pretty good on the weekend. I think that, maybe the fact that Smalley played so well, Tuipulotu seems like he's cemented his spot. Maybe that was a little bit of pressure maybe on Saab, and he come out and delivered.
I love when Foz throws those just floating ball. Like you just throw it and then let him work around the ball. Like they're so dangerous.
Yeah. Far out, he's quick, man. Saab, he's just... I think at top speed, he's probably the quickest in the comp. I just think that he's just got the perfect physique for that top speed. I think over 10, you'd probably find quite a few players quicker. But, that top speed is something else, seriously.
And just especially when Foz throws those balls, like you see Saab, like he doesn't fly onto it. he waits, and then he times it so that you can sort of just throw that pass with enough float and he'll just make it work wherever it is. It's very impressive.
Did you see the hammer and Addo Carr with that kick from Burton?
Yep.
And Addo Carr had the momentum behind him. He was already steaming on it. You thought he was going to fly past him. Hammer lifted a gear and got to him well before it. Oh.
I would love to see a young Fox versus Hammer, because Fox is a bit older, a bit bashed around.
And he's put on weight to come out of his own end. I still think Fox, early days, I still think that's the fastest I've seen.
Really?
I really do.
Yeah, he was quick. Also, just quick shout out, Wonga Blake's put down. Is that the greatest put down this season?
It's right up there with him. Yeah.
Wonga Blake for me, he's so frustrating because you can see the incredible potential, and then just some games he just has these brain explosions and you're going, shit, just hold the ball. But I think that try, that's his potential. That's what he could be. He is so gifted as an athlete. He's strong, he's fast, he's aggressive, he's willing to get in contact. And I thought that try is his 150th NRL game as well. What a way to cap off 150th. What a fucking put down.
He's got the near perfect physique for an NRL outside back.
100%. Totally agree.
I remember talking to Roger Fabry 18 months, probably 2 years ago now, and I asked about who would win a race. We were talking about it, and he sort of said, the guy that's got the best mechanisms for running in rugby league is Wonga Blake.
Yeah.
And that would have been 60 or 70 first grade
Does
games ago as well.
beautiful long strides. He's got so much potential. I hope he's been pretty good the last few weeks, if I recall correctly. There was a few weeks where I was going, I think he may need some time in reserve grade. But he's slowly picked himself back up again. So I still don't think we've seen the best of Wonga Blake. I really don't.
I think up until now, I've always sort of considered him a better athlete
Footy player
than a footballer. But I think that gap is closing. He's another, imagine if he would have stayed at Penrith and he would have still been there now in that back line.
Yeah, far out.
It's not like he's landed in a bad spot.
Yeah.
If he wasn't that Penrith system, it'd be scary.
Manly, is their season done, boys?
I think so.
Timmy?
I don't think so. So with that run home, I think they could be good enough to go on that run and sneak into finals. Look, I'm not banking on it, but I'm not putting a line through them. No.
Yeah, look, if I had to bet on it, I would say this season. I just can't see the Roosters losing 3 from 4 and them winning. They got to win 4 from 4 then.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think it's got more to do with the other sides than Manly.
Yeah, Manly to go 4 from 4. Have they even gone on a 4-win streak this year?
I doubt it.
It'd be tough, really tough. Look, the positive for Manly is though, and I know we say this every year, but Ruben Garrick, I think he's been outstanding this year. Had a few errors on the weekend defensively, but I think he's been one of their best players all season. Yep. So you've got a guy like Ruben Garrick with way more experience. They look like they've got more depth than ever in the outside backs. They're really, Morgan Harper, I think, although he still has an error in him, I think his form has absolutely turned around, absolutely. Another real interesting thing, though, is the Schuster situation. We spoke about this a few weeks ago, and a few people were like, bro, relax. But I feel like I'm getting concerned.
Well, I kind of wish, respectfully too, Foz, I kind of wish he was out this weekend so we could see where their cards are at. Do they play Schuster at 6?
Because Weeks was an 18th man.
I reckon that if he was out this week, I reckon there's a good chance they would have played Weeks at 6 next week.
Schuster didn't make the bench.
No.
Is he injured? If he's injured, then put him injured. What do you got there, Matty?
Got a very, very interesting stat. So Manly have been on a 4-game winning streak this year, early in the year, and 3 of the teams were the 3 of the 4 teams they're playing in the next 4 weeks.
Oh, really?
So the Doggies...
we do know they get up for...
Yeah. The Doggies, the Raiders, and the Titans were all wins in that 4-win streak, and they're playing those teams.
Okay.
And on top of that, we talk about the Roosters needing to lose 3 or 4. It'll kill you to hear this, but the Rabbitohs and Broncos, who are on 26 points, their Bunnies for against is 108 differential. Broncos is 51, so Manly are -8. So if Manly go and win 4 on the trot, that bridge is going to gap. They could even go ahead of them. The Bunnies, their next 4 games are Parramatta, Penrith, Cowboys, Roosters. They could easily lose 3 of those 4.
Yep.
Brisbane, we'll see what happens with them. They have winnable games. They have some tough games.
So if they lose, the Broncos would have to lose 4 from 4?
3 from 4. So if they win one of them and finish on 28, and then Manly do go 4 from 4, they'd be on level on 28.
And we'd probably have a better. Oh, we'd have a worse.
That's what I'm saying. So you'd be, if that
Wow.
occurred, you'd be worse. So it's not only the Roosters. Like Brisbane can drop out, the Bunnies can drop out in terms of for say Manly.
Yeah,
So it's not just the Roosters.
Tell you what, if I'm Kevy Walters and Roosters, Rabbitohs, I'm almost explaining that to the boys. Be like, boys, we are so close to being dropped out. So, yeah, wow. If the Broncos dropped out, what a disaster. What a disaster. How? When you think how incredible they were in the top 4, like they were cemented, that would be an absolute. I mean, same with the Rabbitohs and Roosters. Imagine if the fucking Rabbitohs dropped out. You know what I mean? Like they've done so well to get where they're at. Yeah, okay. So
Best thing about it, Matty and his Bunnies 6, your Broncos 7th, my Raiders 9th. Could be a fiery round 25 podcast.
mate, it could be for sure. Wow. I mean, what I do love about this though is that like, look how exciting the last 4 weeks are, because last year was not exciting. Seriously, it was so bad. This year, the fact that we've got all these big clubs that can be dropped in and out, amazing. So okay, Manly definitely could then, definitely could. So I think like if they do make the 8, Desi deserves massive raps. That's a massive turnaround for sure. But just back to the Schuster quickly. Is there a world where like they part ways? Like,
I think there's definitely a world where they could part ways.
But then Manly's gotten rid of Foran.
Yeah, they've obviously got this young Finude that's coming through that they've signed on a decent deal there. They've got, as we said the last few weeks, they've got Cade Cust over in England that they get first dibs on him as well. So as much as it doesn't look fair, I mean, and if you do get the older Finude back, I don't know where all that's up to. I mean, you could potentially play Croker in the halves if need be. He hasn't always been a hooker, has he?
No, he was a half. He was a half,
so like, they've got options. I don't like the optics coming out of Schuster and Manly at the moment. It just doesn't. Something's not right there.
Imagine how many clubs would be licking their lips to get a guy like Schuster on their roster. Licking their lips. Like even Melbourne Storm, like there are a bunch of clubs that could use a guy like Schuster.
What would you sign him as?
Oh, fuck.
I think it's pretty evident he wants to play 6, isn't it? Like, surely it's not just a Manly 5'8" thing.
Well, he may be put in a position where he just signs wherever wherever they want to put him, he'll go, kind of thing. What do you sign him as? Oh, that's a tough call.
I just think though, and I love Josh Schuster. I think he's very talented, but have the optics not maybe hurt his market value a little bit? Like, it just makes no sense to me why he isn't.
I think we've realised how hard it is to find a high quality half. I think a lot of clubs will be willing to throw a bit of cash at. If he is the next big thing, I think a lot of clubs will be willing to do
However,
that.
I think it's, when we talk about a high quality half, I think that's a high quality game managing half, whereas Schuster doesn't fit that billing. I think there's a lot of good ball running 5'8" around. So I don't think it's as important as that game managing halfback.
Yeah, but like I just think that potential. There are so many clubs desperate for a great 6.
Like you need a good managing 7 to partner Josh Schuster.
Yeah, for sure. But it's like a Munster thing. Like you need a good managing 7 to partner with him, and like he's still one of the most valuable players in the comp. I just think that his talent and his potential is so great. You're going to get a club willing to like fight for him, and I reckon. Look, on the open market, I reckon you could probably get 450, 500 on the open market.
I reckon I potentially could get more than that.
More, you reckon? I wouldn't pay more for.
I think there will be some desperate clubs that will, but I also I think you make a really good point that if all these clubs are going to go after him, who's it going to be? Is he going to solve the Knights' issues?
No,
I don't think so. Is he going to solve the Titans' issues?
Well, I see clubs like the Storm would be really keen if they lose Munster for sure. I think if you were going to sign him as a wide running forward, you could even, it depends what they're doing in their halves. Yeah. So really it's the Storm if Munster's position opens up.
Imagine Schuster and Foz as the Titans halves next year.
That would be hilarious. That would be fucking hilarious. Yeah, okay, because what other clubs, Burton is set
Canterbury's set. I mean, if St George think
Tigers
they're
have
gonna hold on
Dewey.
to Benny Hunt, they're okay. Tigers have got halves falling out of their arse.
St George could probably use him. I know Amone is coming through, but like they could, I think St George with Benny Hunt and him could be all right. Big ball running six.
He's good mates with Moses Sully too. You
Yeah.
can put them on the left edge. Could be interesting.
Yeah.
Don't mind that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
I just don't think there'd be clubs falling over themselves to sign this guy like there would have been 3 months ago. Or at the start of this season anyway.
The start of the season would have been
3 months ago was a
far
stupid
out.
comment. Start of this season.
Because, remember last year how important he was to their... he was a big part of their run into the finals.
I was honestly sitting here in the preseason going, if Foz gets injured this year, it might be a little blessing because you bring in this kid who can be... And it just hasn't panned out that way.
I wonder what's going on there. It's bizarre. The fact that he cannot make the side is just...
There was, what was it, 2 weeks ago, Andrew Davey was out with COVID. They went with Ben Trbojevic.
And on the bench here, they've gone with Ben Trbojevic and Ethan Bullimore over Josh Schuster. Very interesting.
Bullimore started the season left edge. They decided they didn't want him. They brought in Davey. Now, he's essentially sitting behind Bullimore, Burbo, and Davey now for left edge back row.
Yeah, far out. He must be injured. Must be carrying injury, and that's just hurting his confidence or something. Because or maybe they're just trying to. They feel like this kind of tough love will, dividends in the long run for him. If he's going to be a key player, he just needs a little bit of tough love to get him. I don't know. Because you can't, it'd be interesting if we could see him play in reserve grade. You could kind of get an idea where his mindset's at.
And that's the thing. If you're going to play him at 6, I don't understand why we're spending a whole year not playing rugby league.
Yeah, just put him in New South Wales Cup at 6 to learn the trade and whatever. Yeah, really interesting times. I really like Schuster, and I think he's got literally, arguably the most potential of any half coming through. That's how, a big, silky ball player like that, the potential is endless. Seriously is. Really interesting times. I think you guys have convinced me that Manly are still a chance of the 8. I think that I agree, Timmy. When you look at those teams and you look at the Broncos and how they're going and the Roosters and the Rabbitohs, they could make the 8. They could make the 8. Now, on to Rabbitohs v. the Warriors. This is, again, a really hard one to read because, obviously, the Warriors aren't going greatest. I had a comment last week where they were pushing back a bit against us saying we were concerned for the Warriors next year, and they said, look, they're getting Charles Nickel-Klukstad, they're getting Tamade Martin, they're getting
Dylan
Walker. But I don't think that, when you compare that to Chanel Harris-Tavita, Reece Walsh, Matt Lodge, Ewan Aiken, I don't know if that's
That's
an equal
3
fit.
players you just named that are going over there who can't start for their current club.
Yeah. And so, after watching the weekend as well, I'm getting concerned for the Warriors. I really am. It does not, I don't know where the light at the end of the tunnel is for them at the moment. Well, what are your thoughts on the Warriors right now, Guru?
Yeah, I'm still concerned about them next year. And, obviously they've probably had worse defensive performances this season, but I thought that was their worst in a number of weeks at least.
Well, they had the players that usually are there tough, hard and hedge, missing tackles that they never would normally miss. I wonder they're injured. I'm assuming a lot of them are injured.
I also just don't understand what they're doing over there. Why you've got Assie and you've got Ronald Vulcan they've brought over there. Why not get them experience now instead of playing your hooker at 5'8"?
Well, Stacey Jones came out and basically said we want to win games now.
Pick your 2 best back rowers then. Pick Ewan Aiken and pick Josh Curran.
Well, it's strange because, this is the argument for if you're going to sign a coach, bring him straight away. Because, Stacey, he's not going to be the head coach next year. I'd assume he'd still be a coach, but not the head coach. So it's he's making decisions, I guess, for now, which is understandable. You're right. We do want to win games. But, the season's over. I agree with you. I think bring your young guys in. If you're going to get pumped, at least make it with young guys at the end of the year.
I looked at that team list and I honestly half giggled to myself. I just thought, how on earth have they come to I don't understand what they're doing over there. A big loss like that didn't shock me. Yes, it was against South Sydney, but I don't know. It just feels like it's getting worse before it gets better at New Zealand.
I feel like 2 years ago there was a lot of hope at the Warriors. I loved their signings. I thought Peter O'Sullivan, I know he's moved to the Redcliffe Dolphins, but I thought they were absolutely heading in the right direction. Great signings, and I feel like all that good work is just undone. Timmy, what do you reckon about the Warriors at the moment?
Yeah, Guru's pretty covered everything I was going to say. Just it's probably the first time in 2.5 years since sort of COVID hit and the Warriors have had to move over to Australia and base themselves here that I didn't feel sorry for them, because I think they shot themselves in the foot at the selection table. I just, Wade Egan in the halves, a back row of Murchie, Sirinen and Aaron Penne, they just didn't pick their best team available this week, and I thought that showed. Like Wade Egan in the halves, he's so good at hooker, and they brought in Freddie Lussick, who's a solid bench hooker at best. I thought it was terrible selections, and I was not surprised it was 48-10, and I don't think it had to be this result had they have gone in other directions with this squad.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know where they go from here, because Chance is a good, solid player, but he's a good, solid player in another team that has other players that can do certain things. But at the moment, they got some young outside backs with a lot of potential, but it's the key positions that just Sean Johnson obviously getting to the end of his career. Who have they got coming through that's, a real organising seven? I don't know. I don't know where they go from here, the Warriors.
And I feel like, as you said, their team lists don't reflect any direction. Are you getting ready for the future? Are you, I don't. And I know you said Stacey, he wants to win and win now, but I'm sorry, the team pick doesn't reflect that. That screamed to me, I'm throwing shit at the wall and I'm going to see what sticks here.
Do you think it's him making these selections, or do you think someone else is?
Which it would make sense if it's not Stacey. He's not going to be the coach next year. But I don't understand why you would go and get a guy like Volkman playing for 2 games and him fall off the side of the earth. And to be honest with you, on form this year in first grade, I think Assie's probably been better. I think he's been really good.
I thought he was solid.
He's played.
Another one for the life of me, I don't understand is Josh Curran off the bench.
He's going to be there next year. He is by far and away your best back rower. He's your best second rower. He's your best 13. He's not playing either.
That makes no sense to me. He should be their 13, and they should lock it in and then build with that spine.
They went from a back row last week or the week before of Ewan Aitken, Josh Curran and, say, Tohu Harris. Jazz Tabanga's obviously gone for the season. That one's out. To Siren and Murchie and Penne. Am I missing something?
Yeah.
And,
I'm with you. I don't understand.
And you just said, all the guys have signed for next year, that they don't get into their team. I mean, that's half their pack that they've got at the moment. Like Bailey, Siren and Jack Murchie. These guys couldn't get it into Freddie Lussick. These guys couldn't make it into squads elsewhere. They've brought them here and they're moving guys that have been great. Aitken, Curran, Egan out for these other guys. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, yeah.
Murchie, to his credit, has played some pretty decent footy of late, but it's just...
Murchie, to his credit, that try offload was fantastic.
Yeah, he's been playing good.
Yeah, but, it's only a few games. You've got guys I don't understand how Curran isn't starting.
Curran not starting is ridiculous. I can understand moving Aitken to centre because your edges have been fucking shot. I get it. I still don't agree with it, but to have Curran coming off your bench is just ridiculous. They've re-signed him 2 months ago and we're so excited about it.
What concerns me is with the current situation is there something more going on there? Is he not liked by the coach, or is he not liked? That's the wrong word. But does the coaching staff just not rate what he brings? Because I kind of feel like everyone that watches the Warriors, and please let us know in the comments section if you're a Warriors fan, do you not have Josh Curran in your starting side playing for as long as possible? And I'm happy to be proven wrong, and if you want to point out, he misses tackles or errors or whatever, but every game I've seen that Curran has started, he's been one of their best players. So it does not make sense that he's coming off the bench. Now, granted, he's still got 48 minutes, so it's not like but he's an 80-minute player, in my opinion.
He has a few defensive deficiencies, a few misses here and there, a couple of poor reads, but not enough to warrant not starting him. It's not serious.
Oh, I mean, especially they're not. It's not like they're a tippity top tier team that you're we expect these. I've never watched a game and gone, "Oh, Curran, man, he's been shocking." He was my shining light for them last year. He was honestly one of the finds of the season last year, in my opinion. And also, he was in the Roosters system. If you're in the Roosters system, you've got to have something about you. Because you don't get into that system unless you've got something about you.
And that's the other thing I don't understand. He's one of the guys that has come there during the start of COVID, and he said, "I want to stay here.
Committed.
I want to be a Warrior."
Yeah.
You got the fullback who's not going to be there next year. Chanel Harris-Tavita, since saying he doesn't want to play next year, has played 6 and 1 at different points.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. I don't get it. A bit worried about Warriors going forward. Like, you know, even like a guy like Tohu Harris, he must be busted. He must be injured.
Well, he missed probably the worst tackle I've seen him miss of his entire career.
And I put Tohu Harris up there as one of the best forwards in the game. He's so good. He's one of the most consistent, tough forwards in the game. But I reckon he's injured. He's
also coming off an ACL, isn't he? Yeah. So
I don't know. I reckon he might be injured.
how many minutes did he play?
He played 74 minutes in the front row.
God, coming off an ACL.
68% completion rate, the Warriors. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting a bit concerned for the Warriors. I really am. I just don't know whether I can't. There's nothing that I'm looking at going, oh, that's the direction, or that's the direction. Whereas 2-3 years ago, I think we can all agree, some of their signings, you're sitting there going, wow, I can say what you will about Gus, and I know that because of lockdown that he had to leave to go to the Bulldogs because he couldn't be with the Warriors. But I mean, he definitely seemed to have had a lot of impact when he was there. Like, he got some big names to the club.
And mate, the new coach is going to arrive next year, and over the next 2 or 3 years, he's going to build the squad that he wants. It's going to look completely different all over again.
Yeah. I want the Warriors to give this new coach some time. You cannot go sacking another coach. You just can't. And
it's going to be awkward timing for him because SJ's going to retire in a year, 2 years? How long how old's SJ?
Surely, I reckon about a year. Probably next year, I'd say probably be his last year. So in the NRL anyway.
Yeah, so they're also going to have to go into the market to find a 7. They're going to have to pay overs to get a 7 to go there, let's be honest here.
Who was their coach again? I can't fucking remember now. Oh, Nathan Brown,
yeah.
Yeah, so sorry, Warriors fans. It's a tough gig at the moment for you. I'm trying to think of some shining lights. Reece Walsh ran for 200 metres, had a line break assist. I thought he really tried. Defensively, was a bit, not the best.
Their left edge attack has been quite sharp the last month or so. They're scoring a lot of tries and just like making some decent defensive edges look quite pedestrian. I've really noticed, I think Cosey's been on the end of a few of them, had some really good moments.
Yeah. Like when Reece Walsh is sweeping around that edge there, it looks super exciting and dangerous as anything. So that is a real positive for the Warriors. So hopefully they can turn it around. Hopefully. They just, it'd be tough for them at the moment. Now, Rabbitohs. I thought it was a really good win. Really, really good win. I know it's against the Warriors, so you can't take too much away. But they put them to the sword, and then they kind of just packed her up, said, boys, okay, they scored a couple of tries, but outside of that, it was a dominant display. Cam Murray I think he deserves such a rap. Here it is, a young guy that's 24 years old, 23, 24. He gets the captaincy as he's almost one of the youngest outside of Tino in the competition in one of the toughest periods in recent memory from the Rabbitohs, losing all these leaders, Reynolds, Wayne Bennett, Dane Gagai, and Murray has led this team to now the Rabbitohs are sitting 6th. And so if the Rabbitohs continue this run, they genuinely could finish as high as 4th. I mean, I can't see them going to... they could go to 3rd, but they could genuinely make the top 4, and Cam Murray has been the leader through all that. I think he deserves a massive rap, and I think that Jason Demetrio, as long as they finish in the 8, deserves a massive rap. I think the Rabbitohs have done astoundingly well to turn their season around because it was looking tough there for a bit. It looked like it was going to be the worst case scenario, and our worst case scenario was they didn't make the 8. But it's getting closer to best case scenario. I think Latrell has brought so much energy to that team. Like, he is just on another level. Guru, thoughts about the Rabbitohs?
Yeah, just on Cam Murray. He has to be the most complete forward in rugby league, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Just what part of his game needs to be improved? Where can he... he just does it all. What was it 3 try assists in the first 25?
18 minutes, I think.
Unbelievable. And he was... how many tackles he made? He must have knocked up 45 odd or so. He got through...
187 metres run.
Yeah.
35 tackles, 0 misses.
Yeah.
Tackle breaks 4, line breaks 1, line break assists 2, 3 offloads. 3 try assists.
He was just everywhere.
Think about a player that has 3 try assists and 35 tackles and 0 misses. That's unheard of.
I've said it before, he's Bradley Clyde all over again. This is he's got this huge motor. He can go all day. He can cut you to pieces with the ball. He can cut you in half in defence. He's I genuinely do think he's the most complete forward in rugby league. I would say the best forward over the last few weeks has probably been Joey Tapano. But just Murray can just do it all.
I tell you what, the two series that you guys lost, Murray was, as in New South Wales, Murray was either knocked out or did his hammy in those series. And it's an unsung piece of the puzzle. Like, for example, a few years ago, they focused a lot on Teddy getting the head knock. But Cam Murray wasn't in. He did his hammy in like the first game, I'm pretty sure. And then this series, the first tackle of the game, Cam Murray gets a head knock in game 3. Now, I don't know whether New South Wales would have won, but I tell you what, the loss of Cam Murray in both of those series, and you've also lost, it's starting to be a bit of a pattern there. That's how important he is to sides. That's how much holes he clogs up. It's just an incredible player.
It's great. Like you said there, he's the captain of this side. Latrell Mitchell's won 2 premierships. He's won a few State of Origin shields. He's played for the Kangaroos. They've got the Australian hooker, who's 31 years old. They've got Cody Walker, who's a 32-year-old 5'8", and they still went for Cam Murray, who's 25. Like, it is just ridiculous. How old is he, Matt? Is he 24?
At one of the oldest clubs in the comp, if not the oldest. And there is a bit of debate. Isn't there debate about the Roosters Rabbitohs about who's the oldest?
No. The debate's Glebe versus Newtown.
Sorry?
Yeah, the debate's Glebe versus Newtown.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who's older,
I
Roosters
think
or
he's saying
Rabbitohs?
the Roosters are
No, Rabbitohs are older than the Roosters.
Okay, Rabbitohs are older. So why is the Rabbitohs older?
Because they were formed first.
Okay, and people that say the Roosters were formed first, what do you say to them?
Fuck off. I don't really know, but the debate, when I was at New South Wales Rugby League anyway, it was Glebe versus Newtown, but fuck, who cares?
Okay, so what are you saying that like Roosters are saying that because Glebe and Newtown?
No. Glebe and Newtown are fighting to be like who was the first ever team formed.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the debate that will never die.
But Roosters Rabbitohs.
Oh, let me get the dates for you.
Yeah, because I think there might be some. Let us know in the comments section if you're a Roosters fan. Do you debate? Do you want to challenge Matty to a debate on which club started, or even a fight? No, joking. That's joking.
He's loading up his burner accounts down.
Yeah. Because that's very confident there, Matty. Very confident that Roosters are the oldest club. But yeah, the oldest club, or arguably the oldest club, is captained by. You know what I mean? Like it's a privilege and an honour, and he has taken it on board and absolutely nailed it. Timmy, what did you think about the Rabbitohs?
Yeah, I've had a love affair with Cam Murray for a long time. It started back. I interviewed him for work. Might have been 4 or so years ago now, 3 or 4 years at Redfern Oval, and it was at a time where he was playing off the bench and very raw in his career and just killing it. And speculation was building about him unseating John Sutton as a starter in the side, and obviously Sutton was on the edge there. And I put it to him. I was like, mate. You must be getting itchy feet to start in this side. You're killing it off the bench. Sutto's getting on in his career and that, and he was just like, no, unseat Sutto. Like, no. John Sutton, legend of this club. Like, my time will come. When that does, I'll have you take it with both hands. Got on chatting to him about it and about his leadership credentials that were clearly there. He went on to tell me about how his dad had played for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. His sister at the time was playing South Sydney Rabbitohs juniors in the Tash Gale Cup at the time. He then went on to say that when the Bunnies were kicked out of the comp, and they did their rallies on the streets in 2000, I believe it was, and he was pushed in his pram by his dad as they marched up the streets of Sydney to protest South Sydney getting back into the competition. And it's just like, you could not want anything more from a captain of your club in Cameron Murray. He's just everything about that club is... Everything about Cam Murray is the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Yeah. He's a legend.
I used to sit in the burrow with Cam Murray back when we were at school.
Oh, really?
Like, he sat in the burrow with the legit fans back in year 7. But anyway, back to the thing. Souths were formed 17th of January 1908. Roosters were 24th. To answer your question though, why Roosters claim they're first is because they say that when South got kicked out in 2000, that South actually reformed in 2002.
Ooh.
Fair enough, isn't it?
I feel like that's fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's play on.
So your guru knows this. There's nothing in the world that phases me except for this fucking argument. It drives me insane.
Bro, I'm getting intimidated. You need to relax. I'm getting intimidated.
It literally it's triggering. It's trigger.
Wow. So we trigger warn it. We should have trigger warned
Trigger
it.
warning for all Rabbitohs fans.
The Raiders are actually 18 years older than the Rabbitohs.
Oh,
West Tigers are a couple of years older
Yeah.
I'm
than
taking
the
my mic off.
Titans.
That's because aren't you guys like the youngest, essentially the youngest club in the comp?
Them and the Titans.
I reckon
and
Titans
prouder
are.
than the
Nah, but
Titans. Good on
Titans were
ya.
doing some local stuff, I reckon. So Rabbitohs are the youngest club in the comp.
I'm not
Could
I'm not
count
getting
the
into this.
Seagulls, the Giants. Yeah, maybe they are in front of you.
I had very Northern Eagles vibes about the Rabbitohs.
Leave me
Oh,
alone.
mate. I honestly think that the Rabbitohs are I reckon the Dolphins are an older club than the Rabbitohs. Like, seriously, when you like look into it, just saying, Redcliffe Dolphins have been around longer than the Rabbitohs have been back in the comp. Just saying. Yeah, so back to Cam Murray. He's hot. All right, next. Yeah, no, he's incredible. Honestly, you know, I've had a bit to do with Cam now. Like, when you talk about if the NRL could clone or create a player to represent rugby league to the masses, it's literally Cam Murray. Like, if they could mould a player to go, this is the kind of men that play our game, and also women, they would, like, it's Cam Murray. He never puts a foot wrong. He's incredibly humble. He plays with his absolute heart and soul every single week, and he's hot. That's the main thing. He's hot. Latrell Mitchell. Holy fucking moly. This guy, bit quiet, and then boom. Talk about, what I love about Latrell too, is like, for many years, probably the Billy Slater, Anthony Minicello introduced this kind of like, if you're not running for 150 to 250 metres as a fullback, it is absolutely not good enough. Like, you need to be doing that. Latrell Mitchell's kind of thrown the fullback role on its head because he ran for 66 metres. You know what I mean? If you ever saw that, let's say take away the try assist, you'd be sitting here going, that is terrible.
He had 16 touches of the football.
It's incredible. It's amazing. Like, other fullbacks are getting up at what? 30?
30, 40.
But every touch is just like,
Like,
you know what I mean?
I remember sitting here going a few weeks ago, fuck, Joey Manu only touches the ball 16 times
Yeah.
at centre. We need to move him. Latrell touches it 6 times. Puts on, like, obviously from our perspective with Supercoach, like, I text him after about 25 minutes in that game and said, Latrell's on 12, because we both don't have him, so we were hoping he's going to be quiet. I texted him and said, he's on 12 points. How good is this? In the next 30 minutes, he scored 150 points.
Yeah.
It was...
I would love to see, like, if you could work out touch to impact ratio. Imagine Latrell's touch to
It's
impact
crazy.
ratio. Like, think about this. He had 16 touches, so one of them was a try, another one was a try. Another one was a try assist, another one was a try assist. So out of 16 touches, at least 30% was either a try assist or a try.
He only
It's
had
amazing.
3 tackle breaks as well.
Yeah.
Like,
He had
he
9
just-
runs.
He'll beat you in so many ways. And what did he come off in the 60th minute or something along those?
60 seconds.
Just amazing. Like, he is just a different breed of athlete. I cannot wrap around in my head how he can do the things that he does. Like, and I remember what I love about the Latrell story is, like, when he was getting hounded. Remember the fever pitch of whether he could play fullback? Like, it was crazy. A bloke, like, he's just like, I'm just going to try and have a go. But even before, what I love about it, it's very easy for, once an athlete comes out and does the thing, it's very easy to turn back and see, I fucking told you so. Latrell was saying before, I'm going to play fullback in a different way, and I'm going to play it my way. And a lot of people were sitting there going, nah, that's not going to happen. And boom, he nailed it. Timmy, thoughts on Rabbitohs and Latrell?
Yeah, I can't wait for the next month of footy, because we know Latrell gets up for big games. He's got up for Origin games time and time again, finals games with the Roosters. He obviously missed finals campaign last season due to that lengthy suspension. All fun and games, good and well, beating up lesser sides in the competition. I can't wait to see him over this next month of footy, where the Bunnies are playing for a top 4 spot and also a top 8 spot. It's that tight. I can't wait to see how he goes against stiff opposition, because that's when it matters, doesn't it?
For sure.
And then, like, let's say week 1 of finals, it's just going to be all eyes on Latrell as a fullback in a finals game. It excites me.
You have a look at this season. He's played 10 games of football. He's won 7 of them. 2 of them that he's lost were in extra time.
Oof.
So the only other team he's lost to has been the Penrith Panthers. They lost that one 26-12. So, if they would have won those 2 games in extra time, which, let's be honest here, it's a coin toss.
Well, he had 3 shots.
He had 3 shots, field goal. Yeah, he did the same thing against the Melbourne Storm earlier. All of a sudden, he wins 9 out of 10 games, winning at 90%. That's Penrith Panthers sort of areas.
Yeah. And we're talking about a Rabbitohs side here that before he come back, we're all doing the old side-eye to each other like, oh, this is getting bad. This is getting bad.
This is a team the year after Wayne Bennett leaves. This should be a train wreck.
Yeah.
They just lost a premiership-winning halfback and the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah. His impact is amazing. And, I know there'll be some people going out there being like, oh, if he had a one. But, the reality is we're talking about golden point moments against the Sharks and the Storm. That's a good knock. That would be a good knock for a Rabbitohs side that may make a grand final. That's a great knock for a Rabbitohs side that, as we've said, lost all these people, new coach, all that kind of stuff. So, really, really incredible stuff. Alex Johnston, if he doesn't break the record, I'm not here. He basically just has to play. When I was watching, I worked it out. It's about 40 more tries, I think, he's got that he has to score, I think. So, basically, let's just hope that he plays another 4.
It's about 50.
50. Yeah. So, what? He just has to play 4 seasons and he should get it.
And missed a decent chunk of games as well across his career. Last few seasons have been good, but his hammies, remember he had stacks of troubles with his hammies. 12 games back in 2019. He had a flawless injury record. Now.
4 games, and what's he's 27?
27.
Yeah. So he just needs 4 more seasons and it's almost a guarantee that he'll get it. And he doesn't look like he's getting worse, that's for sure. So really, really exciting times for Rabbitohs.
Yeah, the thing that I was worried about at the start of the year as far as his record goes was that Cody Walker wouldn't be here for the next 4 or 5 years. Fuck, the more I watch Latrell and how good he is down that left edge, I'm starting to get more and more confident he will get there.
His record in the last 3 seasons is 1.2 tries a game.
Oh.
That is wild. That is wild. Incredible. Shout out to Isaac Thompson. I thought he was a beast on the wing there, especially for a debut, and I think he may have fought his way into at least getting another crack for sure. Outside of that, Keon Kolamatangi, I think he just goes from strength to strength. I think he's really starting to develop into not a veteran because he's still so young, but that consistency that he's hitting, I feel like a couple, maybe last year it would be every few games we'd get this kind of game out of him. I feel like this year it's more games like this than not. Yep. A try, 155 metres, 42 post contact, 2 tackle breaks, a line break, and 23 tackles, only 1 miss. It's a good knock. Yeah. It's a good knock. Martin Nichols was great off the bench too.
I think especially in this game without Tom Burgess.
Yeah.
I think he's been their best front rower all round the entire season, but
Totola's been great.
Totola's starting to push him. Yeah.
Mate, Totola has matured into such a leader. Seriously, 200 metres I think he had in that game. Getting so consistent, Totola. Now, on to... Sorry, Timmy. We've got to talk about it, mate.
It's all right, mate.
Penny Panthers versus the Raiders. An absolute shellacking, unfortunately. We'll speak to you first, Timmy. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, look, mate. Losses are never great, but if it's going to be to anyone, it's the Penrith Panthers. I think you're pretty foolish to go into a side against Penrith, even with their halves out, and thinking you're going to beat them. Obviously, the result was more one-sided than we'd probably hoped, but at the same time, we lost Joe Tappaney pretty early on. He played 30-odd minutes, but Penrith's systems are so good, and they play a pretty simple brand of footy that, like Melbourne through their decade and then some of dominance, where players get injured, their systems are so good all the way down to their juniors that new players come in and they play the same role and nothing changes that much. Their forward pack was at effectively full strength. Their back line was effectively full strength as at back 5, I should say. I was never under any impression that they were going to be too far off the mark this week. A 20-point deficit is more than we'd hoped, but it just showed the class difference between where Penrith are at and where the Raiders are at, and unfortunately it wasn't overly surprising.
My most disappointing thing about this game was everything was on the line. Everything, and I know they still technically can make it, but with so much on the line at home, and that's what they dished up. Really disappointing because I've been such a fan. I was saying the Raiders had turned the ship around, 6-7 weeks ago, and I was, people disagreed, which is fair enough. And so, like, they turn the ship around all the way around to the point where you're going into this game, the Raiders are a sniff, and then they come out and do that. It was honestly the last thing I expected from the Raiders. Like, I still thought that Penrith might get the job done, but I thought it was going to be, if you're going to get the job done against us with everything on the line, you're going to leave battered and bruised. And unfortunately, I just didn't see that from the Raiders.
Yeah, and you mentioned that obviously Tapane, what did he last? 30 minutes?
Yeah, about that.
About that. Didn't have a fullback either. Jordan Rapana had to play there, so wasn't ideal for Canberra, but yeah, I thought at home, season on the line, considering they started well.
Yeah.
Like, Josh Papali'i scored in the 8th, 9th minute. Like, normally when he scores early, the Raiders are on. And I sort of thought, okay, here we go. They can give Penrith a real shake here, but Penrith just being Penrith, they're just too good, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, I kind of want to go harsh on the Raiders, but I'm like, fuck, I think this would have happened to 12 other teams, 13 other teams.
Maybe it's because I had higher expectations for the Raiders. But I was starting to get a real feel of like a roll on happening. I really thought they'd take it to them.
But, yeah. I mean, but if anything's going to stop a roll, it's this mob.
I'm with you, Guru. I just thought Penrith, I honestly, they're so much better than anyone in the competition. I'm honestly not even that disheartened by it. I never had any misconception of like thinking they'd beat them come finals time either. They're so good.
I mean, this is a team with, and this is no disrespect, but O'Sullivan and Summon in the halves. But it was never outside of the try initially. It was just a domination.
Look who stepped up though and went nuts though in the absence of the halves. Dylan Edwards, unbelievable. Appy Coruscant, really good. Those two blokes who often play second fiddle to Luai and Cleary, they just stepped up and took up the role.
Yeah. I definitely take on your points. I guess I just had more expectations with the Raiders. I thought they'd be much more aggressive and up for the game. Put it this way, like Raiders went down to Melbourne Storm. That's. In my opinion, that was a much different Raiders mindset than the Raiders that I saw against the Penny Panthers.
And, I personally think the Raiders, like, the way that I thought they started well.
That's why I was like, here
First
we are.
15 minutes, I thought, but with Penrith, you can't start well. You got to 80 well.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it.
Look at Sharkies. Started really well against the Penny Panthers. Yep. They just absorb, boom, turn the game around.
Okay.
You mentioned it, Guru, but Jordy Rapana at fullback, as good as a footballer as he is, we were so clunky in attack. If there's a fullback who's not willing to pass the ball, it's Jordan Rapana. He just doesn't do it. And that's fine. That's his game.
Yeah, that's his game.
He's not a passer. So
that's why he's so good for the wing, because he just get in.
Incredible. So every time we'd have those backline movements, he'd be sliding out the back. We just, combinations were off there. He was never going to pass the ball. It wasn't ideal. And not that Xavier Savage is a massive passer of the ball at this stage of his career either, but him and Jordy Rapana are so different in every way.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh on the boys.
Yeah, and even going into the run home, we're still we're sitting ahead of Manly on the ladder in 9th place. So after this, we go Dragons, Knight, Manly. Obviously, that's a huge game there, and then the Tigers. So we win. I think we can probably get in potentially with 3 or 4, but quite a poor points differential. So we nearly need to go 4 from 4, but all super winnable games. In fact, I'd expect us to win 3 or 4, and then that Manly one will be really tough. But that's in Canberra as well, so we're a chance.
Yeah. I see what you mean. I do think that the Rapana at fullback was a massive out for you guys. Like, seriously, because Rapana's such a good winger. He's just not a fullback. But that's not his fault. He was just trying to do a job.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I agree with everything you're saying. Like, you're making good points in that. I just felt it wasn't the same energy that I've seen from the Raiders. And regardless of who, whether you got your best side or your worst side, energy is a choice. And I just think that, like, this, put it this way, I feel like if they came with the same energy as they did against the Storm, I think it's a much closer match. Now, don't get me wrong, I still picked Penrith to get the job done and win. But I just thought it was going to be a much tougher outing for the Penny Panthers. Josh Papali'i was great. Hudson Young worked his ass off. Outside of that, I guess Corey Huddlewira and I had some really good moments in defence, some big hits. It was good to see Ata Moriata, apologies if I'm saying that incorrectly, get a debut, so that's great for the club. He looks like a big, thick boy, far out. Their forward pack is Corey Horsburgh in reserve grade right now, and it was a period there where he was really good.
What do you do at 13 next year?
Who would I put at 13?
Yeah, what would be your move?
Jack Whiten. Jack Whiten.
Sorry. I was asking him, but anyway. What would you do?
Oh, look, there's different options they can do. Like, they started Elliot Whitehead as a 13 for them this year. You can bring in, like, Harry Naira. I prefer him on an edge, but he can also play 13.
What about Trey?
Yeah, it could be Trey.
Yeah.
Again, we've got the best thing about it, and you talk about the Raiders' depth, so many good young forwards coming through, but they're all also very capable of playing edge or middle, which is like there are a lot of forwards in the competition who can only play on the edge or only play as middles. Like between Big Red, Corey Horsburgh, more of a middle, but he's played edge before. Harry Naira, edge or middle. There's lots of options.
Yeah, for sure. Do you remember the penalty where someone was on the ground, I don't know who it was, and he got tackled hard and they got a penalty for it?
Classic case of tackled hard.
Well, I've got it in caps lock right there.
It happens, yeah. No, I know you see it at times. You're just
then I'm more than happy if you can send me an image, or you don't have to send me an image, but if there is an image of their contact to the head, fair enough. But I'm pretty sure he just got tackled really hard. He surrendered, and then someone come in and tackled him hard. And I've got some caps lock here. Penalty for tackling too hard. Are you fucking serious? What is our game coming to? But it truly was. It was just a hard tackle when he was on the ground.
Does your phone get slapped harder when it's got the caps lock on?
Yeah, fucking know it does.
They don't have it.
Can't believe it. Seriously. Like, that's when you know the refs are in a mindset of looking for it. Like straight away, they're like looking for anything that's too physical or anyway.
It might have been the salmon on Starling contact.
Wasn't that? Now, outside of that, it's hard. It's hard to say the Raiders. Like, okay, where do you sit with the Raiders right now? Then,
I mean, like what in terms of? Do I think we'll make the finals? What do I think is a good result for us?
Do you think they'll make the finals?
It's very hard because it's still. I shouldn't say it's entirely results dependent on those sides sort of placed 5 at the moment, because if we win 4 from 4, we'll be in the finals.
Yeah.
And I think we're capable of doing it, yes, but as a week to week judging the Raiders, I'm still not convinced on what we're going to see. But look, I do think we've shown enough over the last 6 weeks that, as I said, I think we win. I think we can win 3 from 4 on the way home, which might just be enough to get us into the 8.
Yeah, okay.
It's so 50-50 at the moment.
It's exciting, that edge there. Hopefully they can bounce back, because I think the Raiders have played some really good footy over the past 6 weeks, like really good footy. Maybe it was, as you guys said, missing Savage, and the Panthers are just so good that hard to beat them sometimes. Now on to the Penny Panthers. What a win. What a win. Sean O'Sullivan coming in, getting the job done. Talk about just evidence of good systems. Like, guys just coming in, and they're beating Raiders by a point differential that if Cleary and Jerome Luai did that, you'd be like, good solid win for the Penny Panthers. They went away to Canberra, dominated the game, come back, get the 2 points, see you later. But this was without their 2 key players. I thought this, and also Kickout was out as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought this was such a great win for the club, and it just shows you where they're at as a club. And as you guys just said, like, they're clearly leaps and bounds the next best, and then ahead of the next best in the competition right now. Would you still have them as favourites if Cleary and Luai were out for the season?
Fuck.
I would.
After watching that, I'm thinking maybe.
Absolutely. Because of where Melbourne are now at, who, 6 weeks ago you said, Melbourne against Penrith without their halves, but there's just not a team that stands out to that would still beat Penrith. Well, definitely favourites.
I mean, we saw them last week? Once they came out at halftime down 12 against Parramatta, they won that half.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
which is incredible. To think that you're even considering, like, we look at Manly and we give them a pass because they're missing their fullback. We go, Manly, like, really good solid year if they make the 8. Whereas Penrith are so good, and rightly so, like Tom Trbojevic is such a big part, but like Penrith are so good that they don't have Cleary and Luai, and we're still going, you know what, they could still win the comp.
And to rephrase your question, Kempy, like, what team would you see starting a game favourites against Penrith in a grand final if Penrith are missing their halves? Like, was there anyone there who you'd be like, I think they'd probably win this game against Penrith without their halves?
Mate. Like, could you imagine it? like if we talk about these next few teams, in second is Cowboys. If I said to you, what are their chances of winning a comp without Chad and Dearden? Cronulla without Moylan and Hines, Melbourne without Munster and Hughes, like
Just no chance. You just write them off.
Yeah.
you almost say, oh, they'll probably miss the 8 from
Yeah.
here. Like,
Yeah, they may not win another game.
And I still think it'd be interesting to see what happens after all the controversy on the weekend, but I'd still think Kurt Falls would come in place of Salmon, who goes back to the bench, because Falls has been injured, so I think he comes into the halves for them when he's fit, which could be this week.
Yeah. Mate, they're just the Panthers, what they have created there is absolutely incredible. I thought Isaiah Yeo really stepped up. I thought Dylan Edwards, we've already spoken about it, but he was absolutely amazing. Api Coruscant, great again. It's just that Fisher Harris. I know he was 10 in the bin, but that Fisher Harris Leota combination, they're so consistent. They are so consistent. It is just incredible.
and when you put Eisenhuth in there, nothing changed.
Nothing changed. He gets the job done. Like it's next man up mentality, and they live and breathe that.
I was watching them the other night, and I was watching Sean O'Sullivan very closely, and I keep looking at this Dolphins squad they're assembling, and I keep going, you can start with O'Sullivan, but surely they want a better 7. Can you start with O'Sullivan?
That's the thing. Like, I think that if you had asked me that 6 months ago, you probably need a little bit more. And then I look at guys like Reynolds and Townsend and look, they're way in a different stratosphere than Sullivan now. But are you telling me Sullivan doesn't have the at least base ability to be a really good, strong, organising 7? I think he kind of does. Just a good, solid kicking game, gets the boys around the park. He's got enough to get try assists. I think if he has an incredible work ethic, he might be the 7 long term for him.
And there obviously is the argument at the moment he's doing it in the best system, and there's no denying that.
Yeah, I agree to a degree, but I'm like, it's not as easy as people think,
For sure, but he didn't look this good at the Warriors last year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm with you 100%, Guru. It's like, and it's playing devil's advocate a bit, but he's doing it behind one of the most dominant packs we've seen in a long time in rugby league. To go up and do it in a Dolphins outfit that we've already said our issues with and concerns for them next season, it's just a new kettle of fish, isn't it?
I'm not saying that he's going to be the guy.
Yeah.
But I think he's showing signs of being the good, solid, like the same people that would have said Townsend to Cowboys. There's no way he's going to improve that roster. And I understand Townsend's further along in his career, but like Townsend's just a bloke that works his ass off. Like he's worked his ass off at his game. And I look at Sullivan and I go, surely he's proven that, if he works his ass off, he can, be at least a platform 7 for a good 6 to come to the club like a Munster. But I understand what you're saying. Like it's against any 7 against a terrible pack. There's really like the only 7 I can think of that if they're not behind a good pack that does well is like Joey.
It's Joey.
Literally, Joey's the only guy that if he's got a pack that's not going well, can go, you know what, I'll do something pretty incredible. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think he's shown enough to be not. I think he's no longer considered just it's a fringy backup to he could be a 7 that we could build with. Yep. Is he going to do that? I don't know, but I think he's proven enough to get the conversation of like he can be our 7 moving forward.
And I think you need someone next to him with a bit of X factor and
For
talent
sure.
to them, which is, as you just said, he won't be the guy. Like at the moment, he kind of might be the guy.
We got Milf signed there.
Yeah.
And like we know he can be the guy for sure.
Well, he can be, yeah.
And so like I think that's the role Milf will be playing is like, the X factor. Look, hopefully he can find his form again. Unfortunately,
wouldn't that be a good thing a great thing for rugby league is a firing Milf at the Dolphins next year, just back to anywhere near his peak form.
Yeah, it'd be incredible.
It'd be a win for everyone.
And anyone can do it. It's Wayne. It seriously is Wayne. Outside of that, look, what else is there to say about the Panthers?
Yeah, they're good.
They're so good. They're so disciplined. They're so mentally tough. I thought Crichton had that little error at the start. Outside that, I thought Crichton was really good. Made 2 tackles, which made people drop the ball. Brian To'o, again, getting back to his best. Tungo continues to, it's almost like people have gotten used to Isaac Tungo's, high-quality footy. Because, even on the amount of metres he gets each week, this was a quiet week for him, and he still ran for the most metre. He nearly ran for the same as Taylor May. and he's a centre.
If you would have taken like any 4-week span of his entire season and made it the first 4 games of the season, we would have been sitting here in week 4 going, fuck, this kid's good.
100%. But now...
Just got used to it.
Gotten used to it.
Yeah.
Like, we've got to remember, this is essentially his rookie year. Essentially, I understand he played a bit last year. But he's been so good that he's cemented his spot. Like, if anyone was to go, oh, who's Panthers centres going forward, no one would go, oh, I think, Tunga's a rookie, we'll see how he goes. We go, no, absolutely, like long term. That's a lot harder than people think it is to just go, essentially in your first year of footy, go, boom, you're the centre now.
Shout out to Taruva, that made his debut off the bench as well.
And he had I think it was his first run that was quite impressive. He's a lot bigger than I thought he was, tallness-wise. I thought he was like a little kind of fast outside back. He looked like quite a big boy.
No, he's big, yeah.
He's going to be special, this kid, I reckon. Like, just the way he moved, that first little half line break that he made, I think he's going to be something special. I really do. He's got something about him for sure.
Could be anything, Kempy.
Could be anything, mate.
Could be anything.
Now, on to the Dragons v. the Sharks. Sharkies get the job done. It looked like it was going to be done easy, and then the Dragons had a little bit of a fight back. I guess we'll get to the biggest talking point of the game. Guru, did you think Tarek Sims was 10 in the bin, or did you think it was a send-off?
No, I thought 10 in the bin. If they did send him off, I don't think it would be the craziest call we've seen, obviously. But I thought 10 in the bin was pretty fair for that play.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, sim in for me, mate. I'm happy for it not to be a send-off, and he's accepted a 4-game suspension for that, which means he's done at the Drags.
Far out. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the ref actually handled that really well. Would have been very easy. Bloke's getting stretched off. The emotion is high. Everyone, wants. There's certain fans that are like, get him out of here because we're looking at the injury. I think 10 in the bin is right. I actually could have landed probably like 2 to 3 weeks, but 4 weeks is 4 weeks. He's got a bit of loading, doesn't he, Tarek? Yeah. So 4 weeks is probably about right. Just one of those unfortunate things. He was falling into tackle, but I guess in today's game you just got to be extra careful. Hopefully, Connor Tracy is all good.
That's the other one. James Fisher-Harris will miss 2 games, so they're going to be without their best
they'll be sweet.
forward. Yeah, and they will be sweet.
Yeah, incredible.
Disappointing, though, that we've got Penrith playing Melbourne and we're missing
1,000 players.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Connor Tracy. I hope he's okay. He's been such a shining light for that club. Always works his ass off. We'll go to the Dragons before we get to the Sharkies, though. Is Dragons season over?
Yes, I think so. They're just... I'll be honest with you, I didn't think they played that well in this game and they somehow lost by 6.
Yeah, I agree. I thought they were pretty poor, to be honest.
I kept looking up at the scoreboard and just going, how the fuck are they in this? When Nico Hines waltzed through on the first or second set, I sort of thought this could be an onslaught here. That's the thing with the Dragons. They managed to hang in games, but they just...
You know what it was, though? Sharkies, 19 errors.
Ooh. Yeah.
And so I was watching the game. It was just error. And that second half, it was error after error after error. Like, it was painful.
But, I mean, like, they also had the sin bin. Like, granted, Cronulla had Blake Brayley off, but at least they had, like, he was off the field for, I think, 3 minutes, and they had half time. I think that's a little bit easier to deal with. The Dragons had Sims off from the 11th to the 21st minute, like, at Shark Park. Hard to recover from that. I don't know how the Dragons hang in games. I don't know how they do it. But they managed to.
Sorry to interrupt, but the Sharks made 19 errors the week before as well.
Yeah, so they've got to fix it up.
And they've scraped 2 wins together, but that won't fly in the finals.
Nah, they got to fix it up. Seriously, they're almost too good for their own good. Because 19 errors, you deserve to lose. Yeah. You deserve to. I don't care how good you play. 19 errors, you deserve to lose. But good on them. They get the job done. With the Sharkies, what are we thinking? I mean, not the Sharkies. Sorry, the Dragons. Graham. He got the sack as well from the Dragons. So it looks like they're doing a massive clean out. Because they both their assistant coaches. Also Graham as well gone. Apparently the word is that more people are going to be gone. I tell you what, Anthony Griffin, if you're talking about pressure, like if you're going to move that many people on, now it's all on you because there's no... And then, live by the sword, die by the sword. the only concern with the Dragons, and it's kind of like with a few other clubs like the Warriors, and they're not as bad as the Warriors, but who are they bringing to the club that's going to change much? Like, I understood the Moneyball approach because, like, you build a good solid foundation and then you go out into the market. But right now, it's kind of like, have they gone into the market? Like,
Who are they? They're losing Sims. Are they losing Josh Maguire? Is he leaving at the end
he's
of the
gone.
season?
Yep. Aaron Woods is gone.
Is that confirmed? Is it Aaron Woods gone?
It's not confirmed.
But he doesn't have a
He's not gonna
contract.
be
yeah,
there.
yeah.
He's
He's going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, right. Well, that's 3 guys from their pack on the weekend they have to fill.
Yeah, I just don't know. I can't see where the improvement lies. I mean, I'll be surprised if Tyrell Sloan's there next year.
Wasn't that fucking hard to watch on the weekend?
His confidence is just absolutely
shattered.
annihilated.
Yeah.
It is annihilated. And, you know, it's great Cody Ramsey came in and played really well, but this is what happens sometimes with some of your young guys. Like, his confidence is shattered.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he's, you know, Moses Mbye is keeping him out of fullback spot when you've got this guy. We've seen we've seen how good Tyrell Sloan can be. We saw how confident he was last year. Unfortunately, like, you know, I although Cody eventually came in and played really good footy, I still think Tyrell should have been given at least a few more weeks to try to turn the ship. Because,
It's crazy how pre-season, like us and everyone was just talking about these 3 young guns at the Dragons. Bud Sullivan, I've hardly seen Bud.
Yeah.
Seen him in a couple of games where he's come off the bench and whatnot. Tyrell Sloan, I mean, he's hardly been sighted. We've got Moses Mbye playing fullback. It's crazy how it's played out, and somehow they're not that far off the top 8.
Yeah.
Still.
And Amon, like, he hasn't really kicked on the way we thought he would this year. Is that an indictment against Hook's ability to develop, or is it just the club is you know, in general?
I don't know. I never know what to say about Hook.
You love your Bud, don't you, Guru? Always going on about Bud.
What do you think about the Hook, Mark?
No comment.
Well played. Well played.
Oh, you're the best, Timmy. What do you reckon about the Dragons, Timmy?
Yeah, look, I said not too different to what I've said most weeks about them. I thought this was around about where they'd end up. I probably had them a little bit lower, to be fair, and I think they've done a reasonable job this season. They're matching it with some decent opposition. There are some weeks where they just get outclassed, like we saw against the Cowboys last week, but how they approach the end of the season now that they won't make finals, do you give blokes like Sullivan a run? I don't know how they do it, but Moses Mbye at fullback, he's not the answer for them. No knock on him, but he's not a starting fullback in the NRL anymore. Cody Ramsey's due back this week, so the more games they get into him at fullback to finish off the season will only help. We'll see.
They're missing Moses Sully.
Oh, yeah.
Massively missing. Like, the amount of meters that he would chew up would just be so impressive each game. I don't know what to say with the Dragons at the moment. Like, I agree. I think we all had them around I said they were a dark horse for the A position. So you'd probably say satisfactory year. And so, again, it's kind of like backing my point of, I think that the Moneyball system, in quotations, was really good to get them to this point. But the concern I have is just like they haven't taken that next step now of any big signings. They've literally, like, do you know of any big signings they've got coming in?
No, but they're in an awkward spot where they're not a tyre fire. Like, they're not an absolute shit fight. So, I don't know. But you obviously want to take yourself to that next level.
Well, surely, but like, I have they been in the market? Like, I don't know anyone that's coming there that's... Apologies if I'm forgetting someone, but surely they've got money in their cap to bring someone.
They have to, wouldn't they?
Surely.
And they're obviously not valuing some of these young kids too highly. Like, it's not like they're flooding money into them. They're not playing half of them.
Are they being too conservative? You know, are they like just refusing to spend big on players? I haven't seen them linked to anyone. I haven't. Very interesting.
Where in the world is their money being tied up? Obviously, Benny Hunt's on big money, but like Zach Lomax would be on a bit, but he's a centre, a relatively young centre. You know, Jack Bird might be a little bit, but they signed him off the back of a lot of injuries and missed games.
And also, I think Broncos were chipping in a lot of it in the first few.
Where are they? Where's the money being taken up in this side?
Yeah. And they're surely sitting on a big... What do you got there, Matty?
Oh, no, I was just confirming they haven't signed anyone for next year.
Like, so I even wonder, like, have they even spent their cap for next year? Because like they're losing players, but they haven't really recruited very many. And so are they being too conservative? Like are they, is the Ben Hunt big contract? I don't know. So it'd be really interesting to see if they roll into the next year with this same squad. Maybe they are just really hoping that Amon, Sullivan, Sloan, Ramsey, all these boys just kick on. And that could be big. If Amon kicks on and fulfills his potential, then that's a massive win. Just a forward pack there a bit.
Still going to be like they're losing 3 of those forwards. They're going to have to replace them.
From what I can see here, and this might not be 100% accurate, but it's pretty close. Contract for 2023, they've got 24 players, and Woods is one of them because he's got a player option. But if he goes, that's only 23 spots filled.
So Woods will probably be there next year then. He'll just take up that option. Yeah, interesting. There's not much exciting me with the Dragons at the moment.
Even watching them, they're really hard to get excited about watching Dragons games.
Yeah, and I'm usually, really enjoy watching the Benny Hunt go around, but outside of that, I don't know, it just seems a bit...
But like to be fair, this is who the Dragons have all, like, this is who they are though. Like even from the start of the season.
Yeah, I don't know. I used to watch Dragons with like a Matty Cooper and your Gasniers and that.
Yeah, if you want to go back 15 years ago, yeah. But like at the start of this season, like they had these couple of young kids, but outside of that, like we've been calling it the Moneyball squad since
but
December.
Like, what I mean by I'm not getting excited is like they're not recruiting anyone. Like there's not much energy around the place, in my opinion. It doesn't seem like there's buzz or energy around the place. Whereas like Sharkies last year, when they made these signings, there was energy, there was buzz. I'd even argue there's energy and buzz around the Doggies. There's energy and buzz around the Tigers. I just think the Dragons, it's just all a bit, I'm not feeling anything. Like
that's kind of Hook too, though, isn't it? Isn't that his sort of...
That's just, if it is him, it's not a good thing. Like you want to have energy and excitement around your club. Like you want to have, and that's not even a Hook thing. It's like the recruitment. It's like who's being brought in next year. That just... I don't know. Like, for example, I'm more excited to see how the Tigers will go next year than the Dragons at the moment. Like, there's just something missing. There's something missing, and I don't know what it is. But in saying all of that, they've done really well to be fighting for the 8. Like, if I had said, like, without looking at the ladder and I just, like, watched their footy, I'd go, they're probably, bottom 4 or whatever. But they're fighting in the 8, so fair play to them.
It's going to be interesting, like, do we assume that Andrew McCulloch next year will be his last year? He's 32 now.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
It's going to be a punish if Andrew McCulloch and Ben Hunt go at the same time.
Yeah. Who knows? Seriously, who knows? Anyway, on to the Sharkies. Mixed bag, seriously. Really, really good at the start. Dropped a million balls, but, Nico Hines was outstanding in my opinion. Britton Nakora probably had the best game. At least in the last month of footy, had a fantastic game. I really like Toby Rudolph. I really think he's maturing as a player and really understanding how important he is as a foundation of that forward pack. Sometimes when they need big hits or energy or whatever, he always delivers. But yeah, really good, solid win. Talakai, Mulatalo, great again. Good, solid win. Outside of they just got to get rid of these errors, seriously. If they, put it this way, if they had like 10 errors, we're looking at probably a blowout scoreline.
Yeah.
So I'm still just as excited as I was last week for the Sharkies. Just the errors. What did you think about it, Guru?
I like teams that can win ugly, not play well and just find a way to win, which is the Sharkies. Now, I think Nico Hines sort of touched on that after the game, that they know it's not where they want to be. I mean, on top of that, they're without their fullback. They're without their 5'8". They lost a winger. They're without Dale Finucane. So, like, there's a lot more to come into that side. There's a lot more improvement, and we know the impact that Dale will have as soon as he walks back in. But
Back this week.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Interesting what they're going to do about Lockie Miller. Lockie Miller came on ended up coming on for 70 minutes, and he had 6 tackle breaks, 62 metres. Dykes, who is solid, but he had 96 metres and only 2 tackle breaks. So he also had 4 errors. So I wonder what they do with that Miller Dyke situation.
Yeah, it might not be if Moylan comes back this week, does Trindle go to the bench? I personally think I'd rather keep Miller as my utility.
Yeah, I mean, he looked good. Like, he had some really good moments. But
I'll say, though, Trindle was outstanding. He had a
good.
great game.
look, I'd probably have Trindle as my utility, but I'd consider whether I'd put Miller or Dykes at fullback.
I think Trindle will be the utility this week because now that Connor Tracy's gone, Moylan coming back, if he is back this week from, I think it was a quad injury, like very minor, they'll need cover for Moylan. You need cover for Moylan all the time. So that's another beauty of Connor Tracy being in the back line. He's the halves cover, which means they don't need to run Trindle on the bench. But now that Connor Tracy will be out this week at least, they'll need to carry Trindle.
Yeah, for sure.
Miller's been playing 6 for the last month, though, in reserve grade too. Like,
Yeah.
I would not be. I'd be keeping Trindle on the bench for sure. 14, like, yeah. I don't know whether Miller has the same. Well, he definitely doesn't have the same experience. I personally would be putting Miller at fullback. I think that his debut was outstanding. Yes, against a lesser opponent, but Dykes was solid, and I'm sure he'll get another crack in the future. But I think Lockie Miller just brings a bit more explosiveness at the back there. But yeah, I'd definitely be having Trindle at 14. I think a try assist, 52 run meters, 4 tackle breaks, a line break, 2 line break assists. It's a pretty fair game from him.
and I think you spoke about in the preseason, I think Trindle is obviously better when he's the second fiddle
Yeah, for sure.
sort of guy.
It's so interesting to see, like, no one picked Hines as the 7. Well, like, I thought he would be the 7, but a lot of people are like, no, he's a 6. Like, what are you talking about? And he has improved and done so much. He's like one of the best 7s in the comp from a fullback.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen a guy become such a complete 7 in such a
So
short amount
quickly.
of time. And maybe he already was, and I just couldn't see it. I don't know. But I didn't anticipate this at all in the preseason.
Absolutely.
It seems so obvious now.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
If you had to said at the start of the season, Hines is the 7, everyone would be like, no, he's the 6, the ball running 6, or even the fullback. But the 7, I just thought that he's just so dominant of a ball player and he's willing to get the players around and make the right calls and all that kind of stuff. Just a quick shout out, Toby Rudolph. I thought he was really good, really good. Each week he just seems to be growing in confidence and really realising his potential. Timmy, what did you think about the Sharkies?
Yeah, Guru touched on players that came in and did a role for them, and they're starting to see a few more injuries and suspensions and these sorts of things add up. And well, we touched on before about Penrith's incredible systems and their depth, the Raiders' 4-pack depth. Well, the Sharkies, for a side who have come so far in what's less than 12 months, they've got so many blokes coming in and doing jobs for them when these injuries do build up. This week it'll likely probably be Matic Avalu coming in for Connor Tracy. So, yeah, it's a really good position for them with players coming back into the side as well. If they can get, sort of semi-near full strength by finals, like they're sitting pretty comfortably in the top 4. They have a really soft run home, having a bit of a look through the draw. I think it's looking more and more like week 1 of finals will be Cowboys and Sharks.
Yeah.
It'll depend where that game is played, whoever finishes second. The Cowboys have a few tougher games, so I suspect maybe it could be the Sharkies finishing as high as second.
Wow.
But the difference between playing in Townsville or would the Sharkies get, it wouldn't be a Shark Park semi,
I think
would
week 1 it would be.
Week 1 would.
There's been a debate over that at the moment.
Yeah, I always confusing with these suburban grounds and if they get them or not. But yeah, if that game's played at Shark Park v Townsville, it's
Yeah, what a game.
Big difference.
To think some people didn't have Sharks in their top 8 at the start of this year. They'd think they might finish second. What a bloody turnaround. So really exciting for the Sharks. They just got to sort these errors out. It's the only knock on them. Just the errors have got to go. Now, on to the Doggies versus Cowboys, brought to you by Bloke Beer. Make sure to grab a case of Bloke Beer. Go to our website. We've got a store locator, plus the Dad Drop. The Dad Drop is 6 p.m. Wednesday pre-sale for $120. You get your choice of a dad tee, a cool dad, a grumpy dad, or a best dad. You get a Bloke cooler. You get a stubby cooler that says Dad on it, and you also get your choice of a 6-pack of beer. That's Wednesday night. Pre-sale goes live. All will be sent out by 22nd of August, so you get them for Father's Day if you do it for Father's Day. Or if you just want to buy a dad shirt, they're going to be sold separately, $49.95. Let's get into the game. Doggies versus Cowboys. I mean, great win by the Cowboys, but I actually think that the Dogs should be stoked with this, and I think the Dogs can take more out of it. I think it proved, well, not proved, but I think that I've been saying, and I feel like you guys have been agreeing, the Dogs have been playing top 8 footy for the last few weeks, and I think they proved on the weekend. They won the first half. You know, if a few things went their way, a few different, capitalising on good field position, they were really in this. Don't let the score fool you. The Doggies were in this for a long, long time. They just got blown away a bit at the end. I'm really excited for the Bulldogs next year, and I think that it's almost getting to the point where you have to give Potter a 1-year extension. Surely.
Yeah, I think they have to seriously consider it. I thought Canterbury was pretty good in this game. Like, the Cowboys really blew them away in the last 15 minutes. I actually thought the Cowboys bombed another 2 tries in the last 15 minutes. So the scoreboard could have got even worse, which I don't think fairly reflected Canterbury's performance.
No way.
In this one. So, but I mean, at the same time, mate, like, credit to the Cowboys. Like, Josh Addo-Carr scored. I think it was on the second set of the game. Matty Burton scored about 15 minutes later. So the Cowboys found themselves down 10-0. They'd been punched in the face when they came out, and then they still managed to pull it back together. We spoke about Sharkies sort of winning ugly, not playing their best footy. I don't feel like the Cowboys were anywhere near their best the other day, and still managed to, win well against Canterbury, who have been playing top 8 level footy recently.
Oh, mate. You got to be excited as a Bulldogs fan, but you got to be frustrated because you're like, shit, if we had have had this, this style of footy from week 1, we'd absolutely be fighting for the 8. I don't know if they would have made it, but I tell you what, they'd have been fighting for the 8. Timmy, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, reiterate all the things you boys said about the Doggies. Really impressive. Going to the Cowboys corner, yes, they blew them away late. Really, quite a strong headwind in that game, which we saw by Matty Burton nearly dropping out the entire field. He was 68 on the fly.
Yeah.
So that first half, scores it was almost level at half time. So the Cowboys playing against the wind in the first half, that breeze, pretty impressive to be where it was. So when it blew out late, I think that was a case of, all right, we've done the hard yards. Yeah. The Doggies tired, playing against the wind in the second half. So while it did blow out late, I think the Cowboys earned the right to blow the scoreline out late via the gritty work in the first half. And it was just probably a bit of a battle of the forward patch for me. The Cowboys' ascendancy through the middle, they were quite dominant. No Doggies forwards ran for over 100 metres. And then on the flip side, we had Reuben Cotter, who ran for 182 metres off the bench in 54 minutes. So
is this the most improvement we've ever seen from a player? Like, did you? And obviously, I know you had him in the squad of Queensland, and I was like, I wasn't. I probably couldn't have squeezed him into my squad at that time when you were saying it.
Yeah.
And it was a big call. There's no denying that, and obviously you were correct. But did you see this much of improvement? Like, he is putting up numbers. I cannot believe how much this bloke's improved.
I knew that he'd make 45, 50 tackles.
Yeah.
I knew he'd be completely fine with that. I didn't think he'd bend the line like he does.
Mate, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. I agree with you. Like, he was a bull terror. He was a guy that was going to go in and rip and tear and 40 tackles, no misses. But he's almost an attacking weapon now.
Well, he is.
Yeah, 100%. And he's almost a shoo-in, like a lock for the Australian squad. Like, would you put him in the Australian squad?
100%.
Yeah.
I can't remember a time where a bloke has gone from arguably fringe first grader to one of the most damaging forwards in the comp, defence and attack. Like, it's
That's
incredible.
Crazy. Yeah.
Incredible what he's done. And what he did, like your debut in Origin, what he did for his Game 1 debut in Origin.
When he was preparing to play 45, 50 minutes.
Yeah, just said, sweet, all good, killed it.
Yeah.
Amazing Reuben Cotter. Sorry, Timmy, get going.
No, that was it, mate.
That's it?
All about Cotter. But no, just the Cowboys pack in general.
Yeah.
They won this game through the middle third of the field.
This is his stats. 17 runs, 182 metres, 82 post-contact metres. Post-contact. We're talking about a guy that's 5'10", maybe 5'10", 95 kilos, 182 metres, 82 post-contact, 1 offload, 24 tackles, 0 misses.
Second game back from a hamstring injury. Quite a lengthy one as well.
Fucking hell, honestly, in 53 minutes.
So he had more post-contact metres than, the greatest post-contact metre player of all time,
Tamalolo.
Well,
he had the same amount of runs.
He had almost more post-contact metres than the entire Doggies pack had running metres.
Amazing. But actually, we'll get to the Cowboys. Have we done the Bulldogs or not? Oh, yeah, we'll get to the Cowboys. Stick to the doggies. Jackson Topiner, I think that's how you say it, or Topine. Apologies if I'm saying it wrong. I think he might be the 13 going forward. I think I was a bit concerned about his size. I remember we spoke about it like 12 months ago, but I think he's proven on the edge there that his size is not an issue. And on top of that, Ruben Cotter, you telling me that Jackson Topine and Ruben Cotter are that much different size-wise? I think he might be the perfect 13 for them going forward, and I think they'd be crazy not to start putting him in there now to build that combination with Kyle Flanagan. I also want to give a shout out to Kyle Flanagan. How good's he been? Seriously, like he has just been so bloody good. Matty Burton, at the moment, and I'd have to like sit down and think about this, but right now off the top of my head, for Sixers this year, it goes Cam Munster, Dylan Brown, and Matty Burton for me. I think he's been a top 3-6 this year. Yay or nay?
Yeah, I don't think it's unfair. I'm trying to think who else. Yeah, no, I think that's probably fair.
Let us know in the comments section. Is Matty Burton being a top 3-6 this year? What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, I mean, I have to list them all and get them in front of me, but yeah, he's been unreal, so why not?
Because I'm trying to think like Whiten. I feel like Burton's probably had a better year than Whiten, although Whiten's had some really good games.
I'd give it to Birdo.
Yeah, I reckon Burton's been
I'd
top
go
3.
Burton over Luai this year.
Yeah, I would too. Then you've got what? You got, we already said Storm.
Go over Cody Walker.
Cody's been ordinary by his standards.
He's been a bit better lately.
Yeah.
Then you've got Cowboys, which is Dearden. I would say Burton's been better than Dearden. I mean, I think the year that this guy's had has just... He is currently on massive unders, which is crazy to think. I think you're getting close to the ballpark of 800K a year. I really do.
Yeah, he's a star 5'8".
Like, 800K a year, because he's not doing this in a team that's fucking killing it. He went to the Doggies and helped lift them off the bottom of the table. This kid is special, man.
In all seriousness, as crazy as it'll sound, how much money does his left boot add to his contract?
Seriously, more than my left nut.
No doubt about that whatsoever. But it's got to be...
I don't know why I said that.
It's got to be... like, you've got to be talking at least 150K it adds, I reckon.
Honestly.
Like, we've never seen anything like it. They score tries off it every single week.
Yeah. It's probably the most valuable left boot in the game nearly. Outside of maybe all Cleary's not left-footed, he's right-footed.
Yeah, but what Burton's... do you remember sitting here last year going, Nathan Cleary's bombs are just unbelievable?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ever... my jaw's never going to drop at a Cleary bomb again because I'm so used to what this guy does.
Every bomb you're sitting there going, something's going to happen here.
If
Just
something
amazing.
doesn't happen, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
The ball's bounced dead. That's the only way that something could not happen here.
Next step in his career, learn the Pat Richards kickoff.
Yes.
Just imagine him doing him off the tee. I've got no doubt he could do it if he worked out a little bit. And then he turns everyone... Like when Pat Richards was doing those kickoffs, it was almost like a 50-50 every kickoff.
Yeah. Kyle Felt does it pretty well.
Felt does do it well.
Yeah.
Matty Burton, like just the way he hits a ball and times a ball, I'd love to see him start trying to do that. Far easier said than done,
Yeah,
but with
for
enough
sure.
work over the off-season, imagine him sending those up every time he kicks off a footy.
Oh, mate. It's such a weapon. It's such a weapon.
Just he will go on the Kangaroo squad at the end of the year, won't he? It's getting very fucking crowded.
You know what? It's crazy. We're going to have a 50-man squad
Yeah,
soon.
we're getting a very...
Ooh.
Can play centre, can play 5'8".
So, yeah, Dylan Brown is a 6 for New Zealand. You know what? You probably do take him. Because I'm trying to think, like, who else deserves it on form in it for Australia?
And like what we look at the other centres, you'll have Gagai who will be there.
I think Holmes will be one centre, and I think Latrell will be another centre. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Gagai because his form hasn't been the best at the Knights.
Yeah.
And he did have not the best series. He was good in game 3, but didn't have the best series. I wonder what they do with Gagai.
Depends if Turbo's there as well.
Yeah, if Turbo's there, it's going to be hard. Yeah, look, I'm not sure, but, mate, Burton is amazing. He's amazing. Outside of that, massive shout out to Kyle Flanagan. I just think that he's just kept his head down and kept working. He's a big reason why Burton has been unlocked.
We spoke about him the other day, a few weeks ago, and I put up a bit of content about it, and I couldn't believe the amount of Canterbury fans that were still bagging Flanner.
It's crazy.
I couldn't... Like, are you watching these games of football?
One of the reasons why Burton is playing so well is because Flanagan releases him. Like, he releases him from all the nonsense and allows Burton to have the good ball stuff. Or just whenever he needs to get the ball, he gets it. And then outside of that, Flanagan's setting everything up. It's bizarre to me.
All these Canterbury fans keep saying, anyone could do it. Okay, go get anyone. Let me know how it works out for you.
You know that anyone, you tried it earlier in this year.
You tried
and
it
was
a heat.
Disaster.
Should we go through the list of guys you tried at 7 before Flano?
Seriously, like, it was almost like you were trying not to pick Flano. You finally get him in there. He absolutely has a combination with Burton. So, surprising to me. Really exciting times for the Doggies. Now onto the Cowboys. We'll try and go through these a little bit quicker because I think we're getting up to 4 hour mark. Drinkwater, first half a bit quiet. Second half, just turns it on. Unbelievable. Fuck, he's silky. Probably the silkiest fullback. Seriously. He just glides across the park. It's just a beautiful thing to watch. He's so impressive now. They've come out and said they're going to try to keep Hamiso and Scotty Drinkwater. He was amazing. Townsend had some really good moments too. Cohen Hess is another guy who I think is really beginning to play some good footy for the team. Just some good moments. He's not like statsing it up, but he's just has some good key moments.
Had some good runs. So he was solid.
Nanai is a freak. Tommy Gilbert was fantastic. Ruben Cotter. But I also want to shout out Luciane Leilua. I thought this was his best game in Cowboys colours, and I thought he was really the difference that really upped the ante for the Cowboys when they needed it. And unfortunately, the Doggies couldn't go with them. Not unfortunately for Cowboys fans. He had a try assist. He had 13 runs, 144 metres, 60 post contact, 4 tackle breaks, a line break assist, 16 tackles, only 1 offload. Just a fucking mammoth performance.
The longer this season goes, the more important he's going to get.
He's the kind of guy you need in finals footy because you can't prepare for him for one, but also if you're preparing for the Cowboys, you've already got to deal with Nanai. All these other boys that you focus on, Jason Taumalolo, we haven't even spoken about him yet. So it's almost like he's that extra guy that overflows the cup.
How good is it that we can talk about 6 forwards before Taumalolo?
Yeah, amazing. Honestly, amazing. Great win by the Cowboys. Sometimes you got to win games that you're just not playing that well at the start, and they got the job done. Really, really exciting for the Cowboys, and I think they're a premiership threat. I think Cowboys fans get excited. I can see them lifting the trophy at the end of the year. I don't have them as favourites, but I tell you what, they're just as likely to be in the grand final as nearly any other team in that 8, in my opinion. That's how good they're going. Now, quickly onto the Tigers versus the Knights. This is tough. Knights started the game really, really well. Matter of fact, Knights started the game so well that I'm sitting here going, this is what I expect from that squad. They were great. Tuala was fantastic. I thought Dane Gaga had a massive bounce-back game. He had 14 tackle breaks, 203 metres. His form's been a bit down, unfortunately, but he had a massive bounce-back game. Jaden Brayley, huge knock. Look, the good thing is that although that second half, it's like they were trying to lose the game, they got the win. They got the win against the fast-finishing Tigers. What did you think about this game, Guru?
Pretty ugly stuff. But Newcastle, everything's just tough for them at the moment. On field, off field, whatever it is, just great for them to get a W. I thought Tex Hoy was pretty good. It probably hasn't quite lived up to the hype that he came in with, which was sky high, to be fair. But I thought he had a good game. He would have gone for almost 200 metres, a couple of tackle breaks and whatnot, scored a meaty too. Jake Clifford too, I think he's showing good signs. I'm glad to see him back in this team. I thought he was pretty solid, but yeah, I don't know if it was harder to lose this game or to win this game. It was tough.
Timmy?
Real bludger of a game, to be honest. It's just like, I remember growing up when the Sunday afternoon 4 o'clock game was like one of the hyped games around. They put real heavyweights in it. And nowadays, it's obviously TV related and viewers and audience, all that sort of stuff, but they just seem to throw the cellar dwellers there every week now. And anyway, doesn't matter. Awesome for the night. He's just so hyped for it. Now Sunday afternoons is like,
You used to rush home on a Sunday to make sure you were home.
Well, the next 3 are, I think it's Titans, Knights. You got Raiders versus Tigers. You've got Knights versus Titans. You've got Knights versus Raiders. Sorry, did I say that one? And then the last one is, Tigers versus Raiders. So they're all pretty average games for the rest of the year.
Every time, the 4 o'clock Sundays.
Make your partners feel special on a Sunday for the next month.
Seriously. It's but you're right though. It used to be such a good finish to the week, or at least a start to the week, however you're looking at it. But She's been tough. Knights situation, thoughts? It's just all about next year? They desperately need to sign a half. It is like so desperate I cannot describe how.
Yeah, I hope they took the opportunity to talk to
Brooks while he was there. If he was
Hastings.
there. Or Hastings.
Hastings first, but either of them. I hope they spoke to someone. I think they just need to find a 7. Obviously, Milford's going to leave next year. I'd have no problem with Clifford playing 6 next year.
Yep.
But I think you need to go out and get yourself a 7. You've got the 9. You've got the 1.
Yep.
Actually, in fact, you've got fucking everything. Just get a 7.
Who are they talking about bringing to the club? Oh, was it Bevan French they're talking about bringing to the club? Yeah, Bevan French. I mean, it's a good signing, but it's not what they need. Like, fucking not even close.
What they need.
Like, it'd be great for them on the sting, for sure. But they are seriously desperately in need for a 7 because the problem is that like it's a snowball effect that if they have another year like this, then they start losing all these gun forwards and it's just all of a sudden you're back at the bottom of the table because you've lost all your guns. So yeah, desperate need for a 7. Sorry guys, we have to rush through this. We've been going for quite a while. Onto the Tigers quickly. Started really poorly, really un-Tigers-like compared to the last few weeks. Came home really strong. Offend Galway worked his ass off, 164 metres, 44 tackles. But just some of the sets at the end there where they were trying to win the game were just like, if you ever needed a game to show you why they miss Hastings so much, that was the game. Because if Hastings playing, in my opinion, I think they probably win it. I really do.
He was playing 7, 6, 13, 9, front row. Fuck, they would have won with him on the field.
Yeah, I reckon they would have for sure. And it just shows you, like, Dewey can only do so much. He needs someone there with him. I thought, Jock Batten had some good moments, but just towards the end of the game, like, they weren't even throwing any real good shape at them. It was just like, do your best kind of stuff. Look, they need to keep, like, if they, I know there's like rumblings about Hastings moving on, but I think that's insanity that they would lose a guy like Hastings.
I don't even know if it's better for Hastings whether he's like for his value. I don't know if it rises more when he's on or off the field.
Yeah. Seriously. If I'm Knights, I'm throwing a big contract at Hastings, like a big contract.
Well, you look at. I was sort of excited for Adam Dewey about how good we wrapped him massively last week, and I was thinking, all right, Hastings out, Brooks out. It's his show to run. It showed that while he can get a team around the park, he was really off in this one and sort of didn't because he didn't sort of have. You mentioned Birdo gets unleashed with Flano running the show.
Yep.
Dewey and Birdo are similar enough footballers in a lot of ways, and he needs someone to unlock him because he was running the show. Like, didn't have a lot of touches. The last set of the game when the Tigers were attacking the Knights line, he didn't touch the ball. Now, I don't know if that was his fault or poor decisions from dummy
sets
half.
Before that, he was getting tackled on the floor.
Yeah, and then the last set, they had 2 1-ups. This was with like 30 seconds to go, front rowers. Then they had a scoop from dummy half, and that was basically it.
Yeah.
They were just a shambles.
Yeah. Whereas like Hastings would have been, boom, straight in there, boom, 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 get there, and it would just... Yeah, I honestly, if it is true that the Tigers like may not want to re-sign or whatever, like I don't think it is, but if it is true, Hastings he deserves better. Like, look what he has done when he's played for that club. He should be number one. Like, we are keeping you no matter what.
Yeah.
Hastings and Dewey, if they have Hastings and Dewey in the side with Appy at 9. With Papali'i on the edge there, they can play finals footy. That's like they've got some really good outside backs like Asu Kapoa. Like I thought he had 7 tackle breaks. Like okay, yeah, he missed a few tackles or whatever, but there's potential there. Naden, we all know Naden can play some good footy on his day. Stafford Toa again. Ken Mamalo, like when he's on, he's on. So. Yeah, really, really tough loss for the Tigers and kind of ruined a lot of good work that they'd put in.
Well, we sat here 7 days ago so bullish about them, about knocking off the Bronx, almost knocking off the Cows, and then we're sitting here now and they got beaten by Newcastle and just looked to shambles against them. I was so disappointed. I was so excited for them.
At Campbelltown.
Yeah. It's just, poor. I feel sorry for their fans, but unfortunate loss. Hopefully they can bounce back next week. We are done and dusted. Any announcements, guys?
No, we're all good.
All good?
All good, mate.
Dad Drop, Wednesday, 6 p.m. Be there. Also, Bloke hoodies. There's about 100 left, I think, so not many. So get in before they go, and I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.